Okay, are we good to go?
Yes, good evening, good morning, good day from worldwide. We are happy to greet you another our panel session. I will just mediation the complex conflicts. So it's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist, speaker, honorary speaker, Fola Alade. He is a globally respected commercial lawyer, notary public, accredited attorney mediator with over 50 years of experience and the intersections of law, dispute resolution, and the professional development. He serves as a principal partner of FOTEFA Partners LP and is the founder of the FOTEFA Mediation Academy. Appointed to the UN Global Mediation Panel, Fola has mediated complex disputes on behalf of the multinational organizations, government institutions, and the commercial entities across Africa. His expertise spans commercial conflicts, workplace mediation, MSME disputes, real estate settlement, and debt recovery. He also serves as a panel mediator with the Nigerian Court of Appeal, the Federal High Court, and the Multiple State and Arbitration Center. As an international certified trainer, emotional intelligence specialist, and mediator advocate, Fola is a fellow of the World Mediation Organization and the IDR Society of Nigeria. He has judged global mediation competition and regularly teaches negotiation mediation and legal soft skills. His contributions are helping to institutionalize mediation in Africa, not as an afterthought to litigation, but as a professional first option shaping policy frameworks and reforming mediator training. Please join me and welcome Fola Alade. Stage is
Yeah.
yours.
Thank you so very much for the kind introduction. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone listening to me. So I would be speaking on mediation in complex conflict, and I understand I have between 15 to 20 minutes to deliver this presentation. So I'll try to make it as quick as possible. Now, I guess the starting point really is to um, not only look at the topic of mediation in complex conflicts, but to also put conflict in proper perspective. I think that really should be the starting point. And the first thing is that conflict in itself is not bad. Well, first of all, conflict is innate in us, and conflict is as old as mankind. I think we've had conflict for as long as we all can remember. Now, what has actually happened is that we've had conflict. So when I say conflict since the beginning of mankind, I mean since when the world was created. For the Christians, they will tell you the first conflict really had to do with God and Eve in the Garden of Eden. So what has basically happened is that conflict has only evolved with time. Now, on a lighter note, maybe 300, 400 years ago, if I had issues with Marco here, Marco and I will probably go into the ring and then we'll fight to the death. That was the way conflict was resolved 300, 400 years ago. But what have we seen with time? Conflict has evolved. Thanks to commercialization, we no longer have to fight. So I'll probably have to just sue Marco to court. So what has remained a constant is conflict. So what has changed, what has evolved has been dispute resolution. So two things we need to take out of this. First of all, is the fact that conflict is innate in us. Conflict is as old as mankind. Conflict has constantly evolved into what it is today. Now, against that standpoint, let's then look at what we talk about when we say conflict, complex conflicts as one of the defining challenges of our time. Now, the interesting thing about conflict is that because of the evolution of conflict, it has spanned continents and contexts. Now, let's look at it, first of all, from ethnic and community violence in societies, how conflicts abound in multinational corporations, how we've had conflicts that have to do with industrial strikes that have even threatened national economies. Now, Without a doubt, and I think it's also very, very important. I say this, and whenever opportunities come to have conversations like this on a global platform, I try to make people understand one thing. There is no element of dispute resolution that is better than the other. We have litigation, we have ADR, and we're looking at we have the tree of ADR, and then we have the branches of ADR. We have negotiation, we have mediation, we have arbitration, which in my honest opinion, I think should be the trajectory when disputes arise. You start off with negotiation. If negotiation fails, you move to mediation. If mediation fails, you move to arbitration. One is not better than the other. The only thing there is that some of them are just context dependent, depending on whatever situation that arises. So it's now left for the dispute resolution specialists to then know which will go for which and which manner that they should go with. Now, what we get to today's topic now, let's first of all even look at some of the traditional approaches. Now, let's talk about like litigation. We're looking at arbitration. We're looking at maybe direct negotiation. Some of them have always faltered under the weight of complexity. Now, but when we then look at mediation, I would like to assume that now we know what mediation is. It's an amicable way of having disputes resolved. But I must stress that what is happening right now, it's almost cyclic because hundreds of years ago, when disputes came up, parties owned the disputes. They didn't have designated representatives speaking on their behalfs. It was the introduction of litigation that brought about legal professional practitioners coming into place. Parties spoke on their behalf. If you look at what used to happen in the Roman Empire, if you look at what used to happen in Nigeria, where we had traditional rulers who would come and let the parties speak. It was more or less it was a cocktail of mediation and arbitration, so to say, because the parties would speak. They owned their disputes. Then the king would then give a verdict. It was for me, it was a form of a bit of mediation and arbitration. But what do we have now? We are now having conversations about parties literally owning their disputes. Parties then coming up to say what the issues are and then resolving it. Because really and truly, if we really, so the way I like to present, I try to make it as simplistic as possible. Because really, if you look at mediation, it's an amicable way of having disputes resolved. What makes mediation different from the regular disagreements that people have is the structure you bring into dispute resolution. Preparation phase, you have the option from preparation, you have the opening statement. Under the opening statement, you know what comes under the opening statement. After the opening statement, then you have the agenda. Which are the issues basically coming up. Of course, we have other things that come up under the agenda. After the agenda, after the agenda, we're talking about the interest phase. Of course, but we can't talk about the interest without looking at the position. Then we then look at interest. We look at options phase and agreements, if any. So essentially, what mediation really does is to bring structure into place where disputes are involved. So essentially, mediation provides a pathway. It's not only flexible, it's adaptive, and most importantly, it is deeply human. Which is why today I would explore why mediation is uniquely suited for complex conflicts and what makes conflict difficult to manage, and most importantly, why peace builders and the mediators can learn not only from history but from practice. Now, let's now go deep into today's conversation. What then do we really mean by complex conflict? We have the prefix complex, we have the suffix conflict. What really is what's a complex conflict? These are disputes that have multiple layers, multiple actors, multiple issues, often intertwined with culture, history, politics, and economics. Some of them also intertwined with years of history of violence. Sometimes they don't follow a single storyline. And the interesting thing about conflict sometimes is that what we think is the beginning of it probably may have spanned a long time ago. And of course, conflict again complex conflict can also be a function of perspective, whereby the conflict is not even the problem, but it is the interpretation, the perception of the problem that is actually the problem itself. So when you're talking about a complex conflict, they don't follow a single narrative. There's no single storyline. They are unpredictable. they're emotional, and sometimes deeply resistant to quick fixes. It's not really a one size fits all. Sometimes you may come into the conflict too early, or you come into the conflict too late. So now when you then have something that is as complex as that, that does not follow an established route, the only thing to the suggested way to go about it definitely is mediation. And that is why we cannot have a thorough conversation about conflict without talking about mediation and what mediation it can try to do. Now, let's like that was one of the reasons why when I started off by explaining that no conflict, no dispute resolution is better than the other. Most of times they are actually context dependent. Now we look at some of the traditional approaches. Sometimes they often fall short. Sometimes litigation may be rigid, it may be slow, it may be adversarial. There's a victor vanquished mentality. If one party is dissatisfied with the judgment at the lower court, there is the appeal court to go to, and in some countries you have the Supreme Court. So why is there an appeal? Because there's a dissatisfaction of the judgment. But one thing I try to make people understand is that mediation, the type of justice in mediation is delivered differently. Yes, because it is a flavor of justice. Because one way or the other, both parties leave that mediation session with a semblance of not only shifting position, but not feeling as if, oh, one party has taken everything. Because really, and because we know that the tool of mediation is negotiation. The ability to get parties to move from one part to another. Then, of course, yeah, as effective as arbitration is, for some disputes, sometimes it also reinforces this power imbalance. And direct negotiations, which sometimes can also lose structure, especially where trust is absent. So what if we then go back into the cardinal points of mediation? First is party driven. The parties own their disputes. Now, because of the complexity involved, and the complexity involved in conflicts brings about one other important cardinal feature of mediation, which is flexibility. It's not a one size fits all. And apart from it not even being a one size fits all, you have different options on the table that you can look at. And you and I also know that the man with the most options controls the system. So you could try option A. If option A does not work, you look at option B. If option B doesn't work, you look at option C. So of course, now that we have taken time out to analyze each of the dispute resolution processes, we then look at mediation. So what does mediation do? It not only introduces the process that like earlier explained in terms of the phases of mediation. There's also impartiality on the part of the mediator, and most importantly, creativity. You try one. If one doesn't work, you try another one. You could probably try to see whether I can bring about the facilitative style. If it's not facilitative, you look at evaluative. If it's not evaluative, you look at transformative. Most importantly, the parties are able to not only explore positions, because more often than not, when parties come into mediation sessions, they come in with positions, what they want. So a good mediator would know how to extract the interest, to know why they want it, the underlying interest, bring about flexible solutions, and most importantly, to try and see whether it can restore relationships. Which I think is the language of the 21st century. Now, let's try and see whether we can have a conversation around complex conflicts. When we're talking about complex conflicts, what are we looking at? So, since this conversation is a global conversation, I will try to see whether we can look at it on different levels. Now, at the international level, we can look at it in cross-border disputes, like the long-standing dispute over the Nile waters, where multiple countries' histories and survival needs collide. We can look at disputes between countries, Russia and Ukraine. We can look at the Gaza. We can, basically, by the time we put on CNN, it's right there in our faces. It's always one conflict after another conflict. conflict that has spanned years, or even if we decide to then that's on the international level, in ethnic and community conflicts, we could look at the post-genocide reconciliation in Rwanda and how mediation seeks to deepen identity and cultural dimension. So, as an aside, before we came online, myself, Marco, and I know I just see your name as NNLE, so I really wish I knew your first name.
Christine.
Oh, Christine, this is you. Oh, wow, Christine. So we were having a conversation as an aside on on the universality of mediation. And what makes mediation different is its application. Because at the end of the day, we all speak the same language. But one thing is one area of global mediation that I think is usually underrated is culture, and how the infusion of culture plays a very, very important role. In Africa, for example, we are very, very big on respect. I cannot assume that if I were to have a mediation in Africa, I cannot, especially in Nigeria, I cannot assume any of the parties would want to be on a first name basis with me. I would naturally ask them, okay, fine, how may I address you? But if I have to mediate outside Nigeria, I'm a bit more flexible. If I have to call, if I decide to be on a first name basis with anyone, I, I, there will be less resistance. So many things come into play where mediation is concerned. We have the issue of culture, and we have the issue of what I like to call cultural intelligence, which is really, really very important. Yes, we talk about the universality of mediation, but in practice, sometimes they differ. So I've been able to talk about the international level. I've looked at ethnic and community conflicts, even corporate and commercial. Sometimes they may seem different, but complexities to arise there. And what type of complexities are we looking at? We're talking about mergers and acquisitions. We're talking about joint ventures. They come up in different ways. And what I think is evident in conflicts is that it is hydra-headed. For every time you cut off one head, six or seven heads come up. Look at how within this short conversation of trying to look at the types of conflict, I've been able to come up with different types of of complex conflicts. Are we talking about workplace and industrial conflicts, which show complexity on a human scale? We're having strikes, we're having disturbances, we're having industrial unrest, to mention a few, which can basically paralyze sectors. So it's really very important that complex conflicts are put in proper perspective. Now, having said all of this, what then are strategies for mediation in complex conflicts? First, we need to first of all understand that where complexity is concerned, as far as mediation is, there needs to be a mindset shift. And the mindset shift that I think we need to understand, first of all, is that the problem is never the problem. Sometimes the interpretation of the problem may be the problem. And we also need to also understand that we cannot solve every problem. Sometimes when there is a deadlock, it's never about the fact that the media did not do what he was supposed to do. It may be that the conversation around amicable resolution is coming in too early, or sometimes it's coming in too late. So the work of a mediator when managing complexity itself is the mediator to be adaptive, flexible. Is it open to multiple processes running simultaneously? Is it comfortable with ambiguity? And most importantly, how good is he at managing emotions? And why you cannot extricate emotions from mediation, or when we're talking about emotional intelligence, is that you see, people are more emotional than they are logical. But you know what they do? They take logical decisions and try to justify it with their emotions. Now, we all know that the backbone of mediation is party driven. So that means the parties essentially own their disputes. So when they come sometimes to have conversations around what the issues may be, you cannot extricate emotions from it. So it's very important that mediators make use of techniques like reframing, active listening, structured breaks to diffuse intensity, caucusing if necessary, effective questioning techniques. The ability to be able to dig deep into the problems at bay. Now, as beautiful as this may seem, we cannot also do justice to this topic without even looking at some of the challenges in complex conflicts. One, Despite its promises, mediation in complex settings is usually not easy because, first of all, like I said, you are trying to
Saludos.
first of
No te
all
preocupes.
have dig deep
Es un
to
placer.
have an understanding of
Much-
okay, yes, yeah, to have an understanding of what the issue is. You're like a doctor. You need to first of all diagnose before you know what it is you need to prescribe. So first of all, and distrust usually is all common because sometimes the parties may feel that you're not neutral, and when there is a power imbalance, sometimes it can actually skew the process. And what we cannot also take away from this is that delay sometimes favors the other party. So, and because mediation is fast, because mediation is effective, you see, one underlying thing we cannot take away from the conversation is that we may have actors who may benefit from prolonging conflicts, which may invariably underline the process. And of course, ethical dilemmas may usually arise because as a mediator, especially when you're looking at some complex conflicts, you know, walking a fine line between neutrality and justice can be a bit funny because the definition of justice in mediation is different from the contextual definition of justice, which is why when I talk about justice in mediation, I say it's served differently. Served differently in the sense that both parties, it's almost like a win-win. It's not like the conventional type of justice that we're used to. So then the rhetorical question would then be that when you're handling a complex conflict, especially one that borders on human rights, um, do you stay silent in the name of impartiality? That's a rhetorical question I'm going to give to you. Or should you then push for accountability at the risk of losing trust? These are issues that are some of them are ethical issues that are neither here nor there. And that is why, as a mediator, your wordings are very important. Your cultural fluency is very important. Cultural intelligence is also very important. The way and manner you bridge expectation without alienating either side too is also very, very important in the scheme of things. So so what then are the recommendations that we are looking at? What should peace builders and mediators take forward? Number one is flexibility. There's really no one size fits all in all of this. And so as much as and we're all very well aware of the fact that where mediation is concerned, because of the principle of confidentiality, we can't look at judicial precedents. So there's really no one size fits all. And I tell you, complex conflicts, they don't follow a script. Like that's why it's complex. It's intertwined. It's we have come up from years of issues. So one thing a mediator must have is adaptability. The ability to adapt. And of course, I've also spoken about cultural intelligence. I cannot continue to understate the importance of cultural intelligence in the scheme of things, because for all of us here practicing mediation, one thing is this here. I, I, there is no better time to be alive than this time right now. You know why? Because we're having conversations about globalization, we're having conversations about borderlessness. We're having conversations about the fact that a mediator in Nigeria is a mediator everywhere around the world. It's just amazing that I can actually pick up my bag now and then go to Cyprus, go to Paris, go to Canada, go to Switzerland, and practice the same type of mediation. But you know what will make one mediation different from the other mediation? Adaptability. What would make one mediation different from another type of mediation? Culture. So you cannot have a conversation about this without an understanding of cultural intelligence. No, I'm sure Dr. Tila can also bear witness to this. Now, in Nigeria, when we say yes, we nod our head like this. And I think in India, when you say yes, you do like this. Can you see that? That's amazing. So you see, the interesting thing is that nuances like this, they matter a lot. Even when we speak, we all have an accent, so we cannot just assume that people will hear what it is that you say. So, which is why it's very important that when you speak slowly, so that whoever is listening can pick on what it is that you're saying. Because you see, at the end of the day, communication without comprehension is absolutely we are not is not effective communication. So those are the little things that you put into play. And of course, deep listening and respect for local customs are not optional. They are extremely essential. Which is why usually in the opening statement, I ask everyone in my mediation sessions that I do globally, how may I address you? Everything matters in mediation, because the interesting thing is that you're constantly being judged not by what you say but by what you don't see. The way you say it, the way you speak, everything matters. And of course, we also cannot understate mediation trainings, because you see, complexities require a skill set beyond the basics. And like I tell people that care to listen, my own style of mediation is powered by emotional intelligence and neuro linguistics programming. Because everybody has a tell, and at every point in time, people cannot not communicate. So as a mediator, it's interesting that everybody, now Marco has his hands like this. It's indicative of the fact Marco is actually listening to me. I see he's been nodding. So you see, that's a form of non-verbal communication. So if this were to be a mediation session, this is an indication of the fact that the mediation is going as it should be. But if I see his hands folded like this, it's indicative of the fact that he may be deep. Yeah, he may be neither here nor there. He may be pondering if he moves his chair backwards. So you see, everything means something. So you cannot afford to rely on basic trainings to think that you can excel in complex mediation sessions. So they require a skill set beyond the basics. They require resilience. They require system thinking. They require ethical decision making. And one other thing I think I must also stress that I probably did not add here is the importance of co-mediation. There's no law that says that one mediator should do everything. Now, in the last couple of, I mediate with the Court of Appeal, and mediating the Court of Appeal has opened my eyes to the beauty of co-mediation, whereby you have chemistry with one mediator, and both of you literally handle the case together. Because you see, the job of a mediator is a lot. He's listening, not only with the intention of understanding, but also conceptualizing what it is that he has to say. In between, he's managing a lot. So imagine having a co-mediator beside you. The co-mediator, and the thing is that there's so much he can catch, even if he tries to catch a lot of things. But having a co-mediator beside him helps to diffuse things. So where complex cases are involved, I always also preach about co-mediation. I think it's the best. And of course, finally, peace builders must also support local institutions, because mediation essentially thrives rooted in communities, supported by indigenous practice and intention. And in concluding, ladies and gentlemen, you see, complex conflict would define much of the future of peace building, which essentially is the theme of today's conversation. Because you see, they are not only problems to be solved once and for all, but they are ecosystems to be managed. And one thing I must also stress is that, and of course, the years of experience, wisdom, patience, adaptability can also not be overstated. And of course, mediation, it does not necessarily eliminate complexity, but you see, sometimes it also transforms it into an opportunity, because the harder the conflict, the greater the chance for innovation, trust building, and lasting peace. Lasting peace. And on a final note, ladies and gentlemen, mediation in complex conflicts is just not an alternative to litigation or negotiation. It is a necessity for our time, in especially where peace building is concerned. And that, ladies and gentlemen, ends my presentation for today. I think I finished in the nick of time, Christian. 25 minutes.
I'm proud of you. You just nailed it and exactly. And thanks a lot. Don't disappear, because we have a new format, and all panelists at the end who have a question, who is not running, of course, and hurrying to go some or have a problem or connectivity. So at the end, we have a round table of the question answer and the short brief and feedbacks from you, each of you. So I'm smoothly moving to Paraguay. Actually, I don't know where. Now this professor will explain exactly where he is, and I am really honored to introduce Dr. Juan Manuel, our next speaker, who has served as a Secretary General of the Mercosur Review Tribunal in the field of arbitration. He has participated in numerous international moot courts and contributed scholarly articles on arbitration mediation, and sharing his expertise with the global legal and dispute resolution community. I want to, he has a lot of credentials, and I believe he can shortly introduce himself. Please help me to greet our Professor, stage is yours.
Well, can you hear me well?
Yes, perfect. We hear you well now.
Okay, because my microphones are not working well. Well, thank you. Now I'm in Brazil in Foz do Iguaçu, where is the waterfalls. So that's why perhaps the connection could be a little bit weird. Well, thank you, Christine, for this outstanding meeting and conference about many mediations landscape, because I heard many interesting things today. Well, thank you for this space. Well, I'm going to speak a little bit in English and then to move to Spanish a little bit. I'm going to talk about Mercosur and mediation. I was hearing Fola Alade, and he was talking about mediation and uh, perhaps context. Here is quite interesting because what is a complex conflict could be the question, what it really means. For us in South America, it's a little bit to connect mediation with the states and with the people interest as well, because you are in the middle of an interaction process, which indeed has a particular influence on what mediation is. Uh, and apart from that, I think that there are many features around mediation and around what the states are doing on mediation and how people is getting involved. So, according to this, now I'm going to move a little bit in Spanish. I don't know. I hope you can understand my Spanish as well. So, bueno, ahora voy a hablar un poco de la mediación en lo que es el Mercosur. Particularmente, entiendo que es importante saber cuál es el marco jurídico en el cual la mediación se inserta en el Mercosur. El Mercosur tiene un mecanismo de solución de controversias que particularmente va vinculado al arbitraje, generalmente. Si bien el Mercosur tiene un sistema de arbitraje entre los estados que son parte y con estados que no son parte en acuerdos de terceros estados, el arbitraje es, digamos, la principal característica o el principal modelo de resolución de conflictos. Sin embargo, en los últimos acuerdos que ha tenido interés el Mercosur en firmar con acuerdos extrarregión, la mediación ha tomado un lugar muy particular. Y eso lo voy a dejar un poco para más adelante. ¿Por qué digo esto? Porque el Mercosur en su normativa no ha previsto la mediación como un mecanismo para resolver controversias. Y esto nos conduce a preguntar el por qué. Quizás la mediación, como he escuchado a muchos colegas hablar, implica varios elementos como cultura, sociedad, todo el background con el idioma, etcétera, etcétera. Pero la mediación, cuando toma la forma de estados, que son los que intervienen en estos procesos, tiene ciertas diferencias sustanciales, sobre todo cuando hablamos de la figura del Estado como un sujeto del derecho internacional. Entonces, en ese sentido, la mediación toma características bastante distintas a lo que hemos venido hablando y lo que han mencionado los otros panelistas. Es decir, la mediación entre estados plantea muchas interrogantes de cómo llevarla a cabo. Algo que es mucho más sencillo cuando hablamos de particulares o de empresas. Entonces, en ese sentido, Mercosur actualmente no tiene una normativa interna en el bloque sobre la mediación, lo cual es interesante porque, por ejemplo, Brasil, Uruguay, Paraguay han firmado la Convención de Singapur sobre mediación, sobre los acuerdos que pueden surgir de un proceso de mediación, con lo cual al interior de estos países la mediación comienza a ser un fenómeno de interés. Quizás Brasil tiene un poco más de desarrollo que, sin dudas, Paraguay y que mi país, Uruguay. Para que ustedes tengan una idea, Uruguay no tiene una ley doméstica o una ley interna de mediación, es decir, la práctica de la mediación en Uruguay no se conoce, salvo por algún mecanismo que tiene el Poder Judicial, pero que no es mediación técnicamente, porque ese acuerdo no tiene validez propia, sino que hay que homologarlo frente a un juez y que tiene que ver específicamente con algunos procesos del family law, no mucho más. Sin embargo, es interesante porque Mercosur podría optar por adoptar mecanismos vinculados a eh, la mediación desde la experiencia de los estados, pero esa posibilidad hoy no está muy garantida, porque obviamente no hay la misma uniformidad de los marcos jurídicos. Paradojalmente, la mediación en el Mercosur es bastante desconocida, salvo por esos acuerdos con terceros estados que hoy el Mercosur tiene, por ejemplo, con Colombia, con Egipto y con otros tantos países como con Singapur, con el acuerdo de libre comercio, pero que realmente no han sido desarrollados como mediación. Y ahora van a ver el por qué. La mediación en el ámbito de Mercosur se prevé como un proceso por escrito, ¿no? A writing process, proceeding, sorry, eh, y no a un proceso oral, no un proceso donde haya un diálogo, donde haya una negociación, donde haya un intercambio cultural, sino que es todo lo contrario, es un proceso que se hace por escrito, muy parecido a lo que es el inicio de un arbitraje, ¿sí? Y que termina con un dictamen por escrito, que las partes pueden este, tomarlo, pero que en realidad tampoco plantea si estamos frente a un acuerdo, porque habla de un dictamen, tampoco plantea cuál es el rol del mediador, más allá de sugerir una solución para el conflicto en cuestión. Y la mediación así vista parece un proceso aún eh, a medio camino, es decir, no es arbitraje, obviamente no es mediación, y es un mecanismo que realmente plantea problemas. Primero porque tenemos la figura del Estado, entonces hay cuestiones que los países tienen que saber bien qué cuestiones pueden ser objeto de la mediación, ¿sí? Por la cuestión de la competence. Segundo, si realmente los estados pueden o no mediar en determinadas cuestiones que no contradiga sus órdenes públicos internos, lo cual es una cuestión bastante interesante. En tercer lugar, en el ámbito de la mediación de Mercosur, pese a no existir previsión, tampoco lo hay para la participación de los particulares. ¿Qué sucede si los estados del Mercosur toman medidas que afecten a los individuos? Bueno, las personas no pueden tampoco iniciar un proceso de mediación contra los estados, y lo mismo ha pasado con estos convenios que le mencionaba, por ejemplo, con el EFTA, entre Mercosur-EFTA, Mercosur-Unión Europea o Mercosur-Singapur, que tampoco está prevista la mediación en los términos que más o menos venimos hablando y que tampoco va alineado a la Convención de Singapur ni tampoco a los lineamientos de las leyes modelos de la UNCITRAL. Con lo cual, daría la sensación que en el ámbito de Mercosur todavía la mediación no ha, no se ha consolidado, ¿verdad?, como un mecanismo eficiente, porque hay un desconocimiento de la mediación desde el punto de vista de cómo funciona. Tampoco hay debates académicos donde los estados intervengan en la mediación y lo que implica un proceso de mediación, que como bien han dicho los colegas, es algo más que una simple negociación, es una conjunción de factores idiomáticos, culturales, sociales, también económicos, también territoriales, y que tiene como función una habilidad muy particular que es la de entablar un diálogo. Entonces, en ese sentido, yo creo que Mercosur aún no ha logrado despertar, to wake up, con la mediación, sino que hay mucho para trabajar. Y eso yo creo que es positivo, porque al haber mucho para trabajar, hay un campo de acción que puede ser interesante para justamente no solo los estados, sino también los particulares. Ustedes no se olviden que en el Mercosur tenemos más de 300 millones de personas en este sistema de integración que hoy componen a Argentina, Brasil, Bolivia, Paraguay y Uruguay, y que por lo tanto requiere de mecanismos que contemplen la idea de la integración. No son solamente problemas aislados, sino que son problemas inmersos en un proceso de integración, con cual yo creo que ahí hay mucho trabajo para realmente realizar. Now, to conclude, uh, Mercosur has not provided mediation order, to say in that way, because we don't have any treaty about mediation, which indeed is a little bit weird. Because, for example, Uruguay, Brazil, and Paraguay, they have signed the Singapore Convention of 2018. But inside Mercosur, as an integration process, we don't have a treaty and we don't have any mechanism for mediation, even though for states or even though for people, which indeed is quite important because you don't have to forget that Mercosur is composed by 300 million at least of people. So we need to have different mechanisms to resolve dispute, not only arbitration. I think arbitration is quite important, of course, but mediation implies something different, as many colleagues says before. I think that we have many jobs to do for future. I think maybe adopting the Singapore Convention could be a good step. I don't know, because as you may know, working with the states and the bureaucracy of the states is a little bit complicated because we need to have more debate and spaces where to talk about this, and for the state to understand what mediation implies, to be honest, because mediation is quite different from arbitration and the roles that we have to play, the academy as well. And I think that mediation today, I can say with some kind of authority, if you allowed me that, is that mediation is not very well known in Mercosur. We have provided in many third states treaties, for example, with Colombia, Egypt, maybe Singapore, but this is a written process proceeding, which indeed is quite different from mediation. There's no oral proceedings. There are no intervention of the state, particularly with where they are sitting in the table, discussing and negotiating. It's a written process, which is quite weird because the mediator only says, well, this is my report and state can follow it or not. We don't know if this mediation process proceeding is an agreement because the trees don't say that. It's like a report from mediators and nothing else. As you know, mediation is still something new in Mercosur. I think it's good. I think it's good because we have many things to work on, and I think that could be the first step for Mercosur to get involved with mediation, because mediation is more than uh, an arbitration proceeding. It's more than discussing an agreement. It's understanding what do we want about an integration process, because it's something a little bit deep. And I think that is, well, the big landscape in Mercosur nowadays. And I think, well, this could be our first step for you to know how it's working mediation, which indeed you can say and you can see that it's not working well, but it's part of South American, culture about litigation and not mediation. So that's something that we have to work a lot in communication skills. Perhaps it's our culture to litigate a lot, and that's why mediation is challenging nowadays in our countries, because we need to develop skills to communicate and to understand each other. So this is my final conclusion about this. I think that this is a great opportunity to discuss mediation, for you to know how it's working here. And I think could be a first step to try to get involved in mediation. I think there is much work to do, but I think it's good. I think it's not negative, it's positive, because now we are talking about mediation. That some time ago, mediation was something weird and something no. And today, well, it's on the table. We know that mediation exists. Well, now it's time to understand and to have people, even in states, even in companies, or in the with the lawyers, that to be more training on mediation processes. So thank you for this time, Christine. Thank you for all of you. I hope my Spanish could be comprehensible. I don't know, but well, thank you. And well, I'm here for any question you have, insightful opinions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. It was really insightful. So not disappear. At the end of all speeches, we will have questions. Now we are moving to Colombia. And it's a pleasure me to introduce Dr. Pablo Arteta Maricu. And he's an accomplished lawyer and academic. He's a graduate from the Javeriana or Javeriana, I don't know how to spelling in Spanish, this university in 1989, and holds a master's degree in social development from UniNord. So with dual degree from Paris, Dr. Arteta brings extensive experience in law and social development, bringing academic insights with practical experience in governance and social advancement. So please, I shortly and briefly introduce Pablo Arteta. I do believe he has so much to say about. We joined together our academic articles in an amazing book, and we joined a huge conference 2 months ago, and now it's published, and I'm so happy to share with him. So now I will share presentation, and you can start, Doctor. And Arita, please, this is your Spanish speaker panelist. You can translate in Spanish, and my job to share the presentation.
Thank you very
Gracias.
much.
Gracias, buenos días. Pablo Arteta es abogado de la Pontificia Universidad de Javeriana, promoción 1982, Magíster y Desarrollo Social Norte, con un doble titulación en París de 12 pies. Posgrado en mediación de la Universidad Castilla de la Mancha, en Toledo, España, árbitro mediador de la Cámara de Comercio de Barranquilla y Santa Marta, mediador del Centro de Mediación de la Universidad Norte, conferencista internacional en mediación, docente en posgrado de la Universidad del Norte Barranquilla. Pablo Arteta tiene el uso de la palabra, con 20 minutos su ponencia.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Quiero dar en primer lugar gracias a Dios por esta oportunidad tan hermosa y tan importante en mi vida profesional y académica para llegar a tantos lugares en el mundo y a través de la plataforma que estamos usando. Quiero dar las gracias también en primer lugar a Cristina Arusamova por su constante apoyo y su receptividad hacia mi trabajo y a mi deseo de impulsar la mediación en Colombia, y por supuesto a nuestra coordinadora del área de español, que es Araceli Pérez del Ecuador. compañera y amiga con quien hemos interactuado. Saludo también al señor Alacarne de Italia, que está presente. Muchos saludos. Somos parte de Medianos, con Araceli también, que es una muy buena institución que persigue sacar adelante el método Medianos. Bien, yo quiero hablar básicamente con base en todo lo que hemos avanzado sobre cómo la mediación está llamada a intervenir en los conflictos complejos y cómo tenemos que entender esos conflictos complejos. Agradezco la compartir pantalla, muy amable Cristina. Eh, Quería entonces plantear eso, que la mediación en los conflictos complejos, por el título, es abrir unos caminos de paz y de concordia para tratar de solucionar esos conflictos complejos. ¿Por qué escogí este tema? Básicamente porque todos ustedes saben que precisamente mi país, Colombia, en Sudamérica, en la esquina cercana al Canal de Panamá y con dos océanos en las costas, costas en los dos océanos, es un país altamente guiado por la violencia y por el conflicto desde hace casi 6 décadas, 60 años tenemos de manejar un conflicto complejo. Entonces, hemos recibido colaboraciones de todas partes del mundo para sobre expertos de primer lugar en el mundo para tratar de resolver, de gestionar, de abordar los conflictos complejos. Primero, tenemos la diapositiva que dice qué significan los conflictos complejos. Y los conflictos complejos también son llamados protractados, intratables o socialmente complejos. Son aquellos que reúnen simultáneamente múltiples dimensiones políticas, económicas, identitarias, religiosas y ambientales. Se extienden en el tiempo, involucran múltiples actores, estados, grupos armados, comunidades, actores transnacionales, poseen redes de relaciones asimétricas y están cruzados por dinámicas de violencia, exclusión estructural y memoria histórica. Yo no sé si ahorita Araceli quiere ir traduciendo o vamos, como vamos bien. Te pregunto, Araceli.
No, sigan nomás o sea, tú hablas el español y ellos leen el inglés.
Ok, bueno, muchas gracias. Entonces, continuando, los conflictos complejos suelen resistir soluciones rápidas y requieren intervenciones integradas y sostenidas que vayan más allá del arreglo puramente negociado entre líderes. Eso responde mucho a la técnica o a la inclinación que yo tengo por la mediación transformativa, que lo que busca es precisamente algo más que el arreglo, es decir, llegar a la comprensión en la raíz de la teoría del Protected Social Conflict y de la literatura del Conflict Transformation. La esencia y orientación teórica de este tema nos lleva a revisar a un autor que se llama Edward Azar. Azar plantea que los conflictos protractados nacen de privaciones de necesidades básicas de grupos, como por ejemplo la seguridad, el reconocimiento, el acceso económico y la participación, y que estos conflictos requieren de respuestas que combinen la negociación política con reformas estructurales y procesos intercomunitarios sostenidos. La intervención debe incluir mecanismos políticos y económicos, estrategias de track two que completen las gestiones oficiales, como hablaba el anterior expositor de Uruguay. Lo segundo, la transformación del conflicto y la imaginación moral está tratada por Jean-Paul Lederach, un importante autor reconocido participante del proyecto de paz en Colombia. Lederach diferencia el objetivo de resolver, de transformar los conflictos. La mediación en contextos complejos puede buscar cambios en relaciones, estructuras y en la cultura de la interacción social. Introduce la idea de la moral imaginativa, de la capacidad para rediseñar procesos creativos y adaptativos que abran nuevas posibilidades de convivencia. Prioriza el vínculo entre esfuerzos locales y estructuras de paz más amplias. Está también el otro modelo que ya ha hecho énfasis de la solución de problemas transformativo o mixto. Este está basado en la literatura clásica de Fisher y Uri, en la negociación basada en intereses y se entrelaza con enfoques transformativos de Bush y Folger en la promesa de la mediación, que priorizan la autonomía y el reconocimiento de las partes. En conflictos complejos conviene una estrategia multifásica, plurifásica, técnicas de negociación por intereses cuando es pertinente y enfoques transformativos para reconstruir relaciones y capacidades. Existen investigaciones empíricas sobre mediación en guerras civiles internacionales. Estudios empíricos basados en la evidencia muestran que la eficacia de la mediación depende de factores como el conocimiento del mediador sobre el conflicto, el diseño institucional del proceso, la presencia o ausencia de terceros con poder coercitivo y la gestión de saboteadores o spoilers, actores que sabotean o desestabilizan los acuerdos, que de eso tenemos mucho en Colombia. Existen debates sobre la efectividad de estrategias directivas contra las facilitativas en distintos contextos. Por tercer punto están las características particulares de la mediación en conflictos complejos. Está el tema de la multiescalaridad. Hay que operar en niveles locales, subnacionales, nacionales e internacionales simultáneamente. Así lo ha hecho Colombia. Multiplicidad de actores, presencia de actores estatales, no estatales, civiles, redes transnacionales y diásporas. Temporalidad extendida, procesos largos con fases de escalada y tregua como ha habido en Colombia, y requiere estrategias sostenidas de confianza y verificación. Interdependencia de temas, eso lo vemos mucho en Colombia. Identidad, recursos, justicia y seguridad se entrelazan como soluciones parceladas que suelen fracasar. El riesgo de los spoilers, de los que ya había hablado, saboteadores, generan fracturas internas. Acuerdos entre líderes pueden ser saboteados por facciones e intereses contrapuestos, e inclusión estratégica es necesaria. Por ejemplo, en el caso de Colombia tenemos claro el tema de las disidencias de la FARC, del Ejército Revolucionario Armado de Colombia, la FARC, que firmó el acuerdo de paz con el gobierno de Santos, el presidente Santos, pero que finalmente no ha producido el efecto que queremos, total de pacificación en Colombia. Eso demuestra que nuestro conflicto es bien complejo, porque aún más les quiero resaltar la importancia que opera el narcotráfico, la violencia de la economía ilegal, la minería ilegal, en muchos frecuentes casos en Colombia. Paso ahora a las recomendaciones teóricas y prácticas para los mediadores. A continuación presento unas recomendaciones concretas basadas en la teoría y en la evidencia empírica. Primero, realizar un diagnóstico profundo o mapeo sistémico. Se realiza un mapeo relacional, actores, intereses, redes, fuentes de poder, flujos económicos, narrativas, análisis de necesidades básicas, seguridad, reconocimiento y participación, y el diagnóstico debe incluir un análisis de género, intergeneracional y la dimensión ambiental, también tratada por los dos autores citados, Azar y Lederach. Bien, hay que diseñar esos procesos plurales y secuenciados, precisamente combinando procesos formales, negociación de alto nivel, con procesos informales mediación comunitaria, localizada, reconciliación y comisiones ciudadanas. Sobre eso, nuestros gobiernos han cumplido un papel de acercamiento y de énfasis a las comunidades más afectadas por el conflicto, precisamente para resolver en la matriz de esas sociedades de mayor conflicto, de esos municipios apartados, precisamente el que se dé fortalecimiento de la mediación comunitaria, que los líderes comunitarios se apropien de la mediación y la apliquen. Luego viene el diseño de mecanismos para incorporar actores claves o neutralizarlos. Eso ya ha ocurrido en Colombia. Incentivos, garantías de seguridad, compromisos de terceros. Garantiza canales para la participación de minorías y mujeres que participen con voz significativa. Por adelante está el enfoque de la sostenibilidad institucional y social. Acompaña acuerdos con mecanismos de implementación que han fallado en Colombia, monitoreo conjunto, observadores, arreglos de verificación y con medidas socioeconómicas que aborden causas estructurales, redistribución, acceso a servicios, reformas legales. La capacitación de adaptación y de aprendizaje emplea diseños interactivos como el de plan, actuar y aprender, planear, actuar y aprender. Se repara y se plantean planes B. El mediador debe operar como diseñador de procesos y facilitador institucional, no solo como negociador técnico. Lederach habla de la creatividad procesal y de la necesidad de proyectos puentes que articulen niveles. Ya me estoy acercando al final con la integración de enfoques transformativos pragmáticos. Hay que combinar negociaciones por intereses, soluciones prácticas, sesiones territoriales, reparto de poder, con intervenciones transformativas que restauren el reconocimiento y la agencia de las partes, diálogos restaurativos, de justicia, deliberativos, etc. En Colombia hay que hacer mucho énfasis en la profesionalización ética del mediador. El mediador debe evidenciar imparcialidad, transparencia en su mandato, conocimiento contextual profundo y protocolos de confidencialidad y protección de participantes vulnerables. La legitimidad del mediador depende de su credibilidad local e independencia. Bueno, ya vamos a entrar a la parte final con las metodologías y herramientas recomendadas. Están los mapas de actores o los network analysis, complejidad de un conflicto en un mapa inteligible de relaciones, ofreciendo una visión estructurada para entender, analizar y actuar de manera más efectiva en entornos desafiantes. El análisis de riesgo y de spoilers o saboteadores, matrices de incentivo y seguimiento. Las consideraciones éticas y limitaciones evitan soluciones impuestas que no cuenten con apoyo social, respetar la autodeterminación y los derechos humanos, el manejo ético de la información y la protección de denunciantes y testigos. Ya cierro la conferencia con la mediación en conflictos complejos en el caso colombiano puntual. La complejidad del caso colombiano demuestra cómo las características lo tienen, la multidimensionalidad. Se trata de un conflicto armado interno que ha estado marcado por factores políticos, territoriales, económicos, ideológicos y de narcotráfico, con multiplicidad de actores. El Estado, como señalaban los conferencistas anteriores, los grupos armados insurgentes, que son de los pocos del mundo, y los paramilitares, las comunidades rurales, la población urbana, las diásporas y los actores internacionales. La memoria histórica y las heridas abiertas, las décadas de violencia generan desconfianza, polarización y resistiendo al cambio. Entonces vuelvo a hablar de los autores Azar y Lederach y por último las recomendaciones y sugerencias para Colombia. Fortalecer la mediación comunitaria, como ya lo habíamos dicho, empoderar líderes locales como facilitadores de convivencia, incluir estratégicamente a víctimas y minorías, garantizar que no solo haya representación simbólica, sino real en los procesos, atender a los saboteadores, diseñar mecanismos para gestionar actores que buscan desestabilizar la implementación de los acuerdos, conectar lo local con lo nacional, fomentar la imaginación moral, cuidar la ética del mediador y la síntesis final, ya para terminar y agradeciendo a todos su atención, podemos traducir la síntesis final, si eres tan amable, Araceli. Mira, yo quiero decir que el caso colombiano muestra que los conflictos complejos no se resuelven de una vez, sino que se transforman en el tiempo mediante procesos adaptativos, sostenidos y profundamente inclusivos. La mediación en sus múltiples niveles es un puente entre la memoria del conflicto y la posibilidad de una paz duradera. Sí, tienes toda la idea. Te agradezco. Si quieres, te la repito poco a poco. Araceli, gracias.
No, está bien, ya está puesto en el grupo.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Entonces, con eso doy finalización a mi conferencia, invitándolos a que se hagan parte de mi campaña, de mi iniciativa, Mediación en Colombia, que tiene un canal de YouTube donde tengo miles, tengo 620 videos de mediadores de todas partes del mundo. Quisiera que todos ustedes me regalaran un video corto para sensibilizar a Colombia sobre el uso de la mediación para los conflictos complejos. Muchas gracias. Un abrazo. Dios los bendiga. Y gracias a Cristina. Muy amable, Araceli.
Thank you very much. It was really insightful. And question at the end. And we smoothly want to move to the next speaker. And he's waiting long time, I do believe. So Marco, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes, of
Sí,
course.
está listo.
Perfect. So I want to greet Marco Malacarne from Italy. And he's a Medianos facilitator and project manager and passionate about the coaching, creativity. You can just tell direct he's a creative person. And he's really passionate about the innovation and philosophy. Well, could you share with us your philosophy of diplomacy or your job where you are working now? And stage is yours.
Yeah, yes, the titles are very important, but it is very important also to share in practice what we listen to what we learn from our life. Yeah, and so that's why I will start to introduce Medianos, if you agree, directly from the experience.
Yes, please. The closer to our topic, of course, you can share your expertise. What Medianos can give to peace the table.
Yes, as Pablo mentioned, we need to have some practical experience in order to dive to the conflict and to try to have some tools. So Medianos, it is a ludic experiential process. So my name is Marco Malacarne. This is Medianos. It is an experiential gamification process. So inside instead to explain all the step, I will start to ask you to imagine 3 situations, and I ask you to think about the last 3 months. If you, in your experience, in your life experience, we are in September, so in July, August, and September. If in work or school, if you have argue or had a disagreement or a conflict with someone, try to answer in yourself. The second question is if in the last 3 days in the same environment you feel and you have the opportunity to have a disagreement with anyone. So now it's Saturday. So let's talk about Wednesday, Tuesday, or Friday. And the last question is in the same time frame. So in the last 3 months or 3 days, you choose the time frame. If you was a witness of a disagreement or a discussion between 2 peoples. So what this means is that as also my previous speaker said, the conflict is inevitable, but we can learn something from the conflict instead to be fixed on the conflict itself. So, Medianos, it is an experience and it is a game that has some rules. Okay. The first rules is that we will try together and we will have an experience together now. So we will have 2 people that will disagree and will have an argue together. And the first rule is that the 2 speakers, the 2 people speak directly to each other. The second rule is that both must be authentic. So they should say what they think, even if in a specific card, because Medianos has his own card, they can be a little bit more unrealistic and they can behave as an actor. The third rule is that the non-conflict players, so all of us, are active listeners, and in one particular point of the game, the non-conflicting players will join the game with their contribution. The fourth rule is that the game stops only for life or death matter. So no interruption, it is allowed. Good, so we have a preliminary phase that it is this one. So the total game will last 20 minutes. The players that choose to play will argue in an argument that I will decide right now. And they argue only for 20-30 seconds. So I need 2 volunteers from you all. So please, who wants to join as a player? I see that there is Silvia, there is Fola, and Manrique. So I need 2 volunteers, please.
Okay, you suggest our guest speakers to play Mediano's game online to show
Yes.
how they can. Okay, do you speak Spanish?
No, it is better in English if possible.
Of course. So Spanish speakers, we have a lot. English speakers.
Good. So I can
No.
speak Italian if they understand the English. I can maybe understand a bit the Spanish.
I
We
have
will
a
try.
suggestion. I have suggestion. So our panel in our conference topic about the peace, but when we have a conflict between nationalities, we don't have to know the language. So let's make the game more difficult.
Yes, let's do it more difficult.
Okay, I will see how Medianos now can survive in this difficult, really intercultural conflicts. So we will take one Spanish speaker. You don't understand language, you don't know Spanish. And I think my fellow Fola is ready to join. Yes, he's ready
a good
to join
idea.
our game.
Yes. We can have a cross-cultural Medianos game.
Okay, we will ask Silvia or Arita, Araceli. We can ask Araceli.
Aquí estoy.
Yes, we can ask Araceli also.
Araceli.
Okay, Araceli. In Fola.
Hola, Araceli.
Hola, Marco.
Okay, perfect. Nigeria and Ecuador.
As you see, my Spanish is very good, Araceli. So we can do like that. Let's have a discussion in your language. So Fola and Araceli, you are the two players. So now I ask you to have a 20-second disagreement, if you can, hard disagreement, and the topic is the following. Fola, you start to talk on this speech, and you have only 10 minutes to talk. And also, Raseli, you have only 10 minutes to talk. But Fola talk for 15 minutes. And Raseli, you did not have the time to talk and to say what you want. It is clear, Raseli, what is the subject of the discussion?
Spanish, yo solamente hablo español.
Of course, make the Fola's life danger, the beautiful. So speak in Spanish. So this is the purpose of intercultural arguments. You will speak, you just get married, let's say, and you do speak Spanish, and he's speaking in, you can say, oh, Fola, to make more worse, you can start to speak your dialect of Nigerian. It will be much difficult.
Okay, so what topic am I supposed to speak on?
Anything, just play. It's like a game, as I understood. You are arguing with each other, so we can play as
Okay.
husband and wife. You can
Yes. So
Okay, yeah. So
three,
husband and wife, yeah.
2, 1, let's argue.
Okay, mo tiẹ̀ mọ̀ kó títẹ̀ ń ṣe ara sẹ́ẹ̀lì yìí ẹni tí mo fẹ́ sílé mo dẹ̀ sọ fún mi pé kó ṣe oúnjẹ fún mi nísìnyí I'm speaking my native language so nísìnyí mo wá débí báyìí nísìnyí ó yá fún mi lóúnjẹ kí n jẹ ó fún mi lóúnjẹ jẹ everyday mo máa ń pè é bọ̀ kí ló máa wá ṣe nísìnyí wá fihàn pé mo máa gbé mi sí ojú àwòrán kí èmi wá máa bá àwọn èèyàn tó yẹ kí n bá sọ̀rọ̀ wá sọ mí di ẹni tí ò mọ nǹkan ṣe kí ló dé kí ni mo ṣe fún ẹ kí ni mo ṣe fún ẹ kí ló fẹ́ mo sanwó iléèwé ẹ mo sanwó school màmá ẹ kí ló tún fẹ́ kí ló fẹ́.
Stop, it's okay. Raseli, you did not say anything. Say something to Fola in your language.
A Fola, lo que pasa es que yo no logro entenderte mucho el inglés. O sea, entiendo lo que tú me estás diciendo, pero es una limitante que yo tengo para poderte entender y todo el tema de acá. Sé que estamos manejando varias culturas, varios idiomas, e igual, distancia de horario y idioma es imposible entender las preguntas o the questions hacia el tema de acá, pero estamos formando una comunidad.
Okay. Stop. It's okay. Good. So you did a perfect discussion. Let's start with the card number 1. So I ask you to choose between 3 words.
My friend, I could help something in the translation. Good morning to all of you. Maybe I could reach in the start to everybody could understand what you say first and then to translate to Spanish. Can you return the page to the first page for to make the translation?
Ah,
Fase preliminar. El juego, first, return once again for to explain to all, to everybody.
the regulars.
Reglas regulares, hablar directamente, autenticidad, decir lo que realmente piensas.
La
No
regola,
conflicto, los actores de no conflicto son actores de escucha activa. El juego solo para cuando hay un dilema de vida o muerte. El juego solo se detendrá cuando hay un dilema de vida o muerte. El juego durará aproximadamente 20 a 25 minutos. Los jugadores que se alisten o se preparen en el argumento son seleccionados. El tópico del argumento es decidido, o sea, se decide el tópico del argumento. El argumento tiene que durar, o sea, cada uno tiene un tiempo para argumentar de 30 segundos. Ese es el tipo de juego, o sea, que cada uno argumente por 30 segundos.
muchas
La
gracias.
primera carta, la escena del cambio, ¿no? Acá
Thank you,
dice,
Freddy. Thank you.
sí,
Muchas
Just
sí,
gracias.
because he will finish his game and after we will discuss.
well,
So,
I don't know.
la primera carta, the first card, said that you need to choose between three words. So, por favor, selecta una de tres idiomas. Sole, día, or
Carpeta.
tapeta. Desk, day, or sun. Which word you select, Fola? You prefer?
Okay, I'll go with son. It's bright.
Sun. Okay.
Yes.
Wesley,
Day,
quale idioma?
day.
Cualquiera.
Sería día.
Dia,
Cualquiera.
mucho bien. La carta número dos is express the emotion, de emociones.
Expresa tus emociones.
Estoy enojada.
Ah, so,
Estoy angry.
Russell, por favor, ¿puede endovinar la emoción que Fola está probando
Mejor
ora?
hablar en italiano, no nos vamos a entender.
Ah, in
Mejor.
italiano anche bene. Boh,
Parlare in italiano.
molto bene. Russell, qual è la tua idea di emozione di Fola? Quale emozione sta provando Fola? What is the emotion that Fola it is feeling, in your opinion, Russell?
Angry. Fola,
Angry.
angry.
Angry. Fola, is angry the emotion that you are feeling, or it is another one? Because you are the
It's
only person that knows.
yeah, I was feeling anger.
Anger.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was complaining about her not being a good wife.
Good.
And
I
how she doesn't give
understand
and
you.
how she doesn't give me food to eat.
Okay. So, Fola, please try to guess the emotion that Wesley is feeling now in Spanish or Italian, if you can.
Oh, myself, I only speak English.
Also, English, it's okay.
Yeah, so I think she was a bit calm. I'll use the word calm.
Calm.
Yeah.
Wesley, sei calma? È la tua emozione o è un'altra emozione quella che stai provando? Perché solo tu puoi saperlo.
Calma, calma.
È corretto.
Sí, correcto.
Okay, so good. The card number, we play good the card number two, and now the card number three is to vent. So
Detalla el
to set.
conflicto.
¿Cómo?
Explica el conflicto. Explica
Sì,
directamente las razones
sì.
de tu conflicto.
Dire perché, Wesley, tu sei calma. Io sono calma perché dillo direttamente a Fola.
Eh, ahí Freddy me ayudas, ¿ya? Por favor. Eh, Pienso aprender un poco más inglés para poder compartir espacios como estos y llegarte a conocer un poco mejor y entablar una comunicación abierta y directa.
Ok, bueno, Fola, please say to Raisley why you are angry.
Okay, in my language or in English language?
In English
En
language,
inglés.
it is fine. Then I
Your
will
language,
translate.
Lo, your language, don't. Your direction is your language.
Okay, okay. Inú kan bí mi tó pé kò ń fún mi ní oúnjẹ tí màá jẹ. Oúnjẹ tó dẹ̀ fún mi jẹ yẹn ò jẹ́ kí inú mi dùn. Mo ò lè jẹun tí n bá dẹ̀ jẹun mo ní lágbára lọ́wọ́. So nǹkan tó jẹ́ kí inú mi dùn nìyẹn.
So you
Good.
are offended, as I understood, correct?
Yes, I am offended. Yes.
You
So
see, I
so,
understand
so
Nigerian language.
yeah, you got no. You read my emotions, Christine, because my emotion was a bit evident.
Okay,
Yeah. So what I
good.
was just saying. Yeah. Okay.
So let's move forward. Thank you both. You play well the card number 3. Thank you for the translation. So the card number 4 is to judge the other people, quindi giudicare l'altra persona. Quindi, Fola, in your language, make a judgment on Raisley because she do not understand why you took too much time on this speech in your language, and then and someone can help us for the translation.
Mo nǹkan tó mo ṣáà ti sọ kínní mo ti sọ láti ọjọ́ yìí. Tẹ́ pé mo ti mọ̀ pé ò ní fún mi má dẹ̀ ti lọ wá ìyàwó kékeré kan tí máa fẹ́ ìyàwó tó máa gbọ́ èdè mi tó dẹ̀ bá lè bá mi ṣe nǹkan tí mò ń sọ gbogbo tá à ń sọ eléyìí tá à ń sọ èdè tó gbọ́ nǹkan tí mò ń sọ yìí gan wàhálà gan ló jẹ́ fún mi ó ti sú mi o máa ń bí kò sú mi wà mọ́ pa mi.
Okay, thank you, Fola. You convince me a lot. Good. So, and then Raisley, fai la stessa cosa, esprimi un giudizio su Fola perché lui si è comportato così e ti ha detto questa cosa in modo anche molto forte. In your language favorite, nella tua lingua preferita.
Ah, está más tranquilo, más pacífico.
Okay.
No lo entendí muy bien.
Okay, it's good. We play in a good way the card number 4. Then now it is the moment of the giraffe. My friend the giraffe. I present to you. This is the giraffe, and the giraffe that you can see. It is why the giraffe is using the kind words. La giraffa parla con parole gentili e molto empatiche. Okay? So I ask you, Fola, to take virtually the giraffe with you and say the same content of what you said before, but using only kind words in your language to Raisley. So the giraffe is to you.
Araceli, me. Okay, should I go first or should Araceli go? Should I be the one to speak or Araceli?
Yes, of course, you can speak.
Okay, Araceli mi, Àṣàkẹ́ mi, má bínú sí mi now. Kí ló ń ṣe ẹ́? Ọmọ tó fine báyìí, ó yá máa bọ̀. Kí ló dé? Ó yá rẹ́rìn jẹ́ kí n wo eyín ẹ̀ náà. Àbá, ó yá ọ̀dà má bínú. Má bínú Àṣàkẹ́. Ẹni tọ́kọ mi fẹ́ mi. Ṣé ò bínú mọ́ ṣá? Ó ṣe gan ni aya mi.
That was very nice. Really amazing. Thank you, Fola. So, now, Raisley, anche tu, senza cambiare il contenuto, di con parole gentili quello che prima hai detto con parole più brutte. I forgot to say that must and should cannot be used, but you can see on the screen that non si può dire devi oppure obbligatoriamente devi fare qualcosa. Prego, Presley, tocca a te.
Em, Me
Anche
parece
tu.
muy bien, o sea, sí, me parece muy bien la versión que Paula me dijo, más o menos entendí, y sé que sí, efectivamente debo cambiar algunas cosas eh, y también debería
Presley,
ser mejor.
devo non puoi usare perché is
No,
must. Devo non si può usare.
no, voy a
Vabbè.
cambiar, voy a cambiar. Así,
Bueno,
the change.
okay, grazie. The card number 5, it is done. Now we have the card number 6, in which we make a new perspective. How we can do it? Now let's imagine Fola and Raisley. You switch your position with the teletransportation, and you are now in your opposite position. So, Fola, you are now dressed and with dress that it is Raisley dressing. Same for you, Raisley. You have, yes, of course, Fola, you have beautiful hair. And Raisley, you have a white clothes. And let's switch your position for a moment. Now you are exactly the other person. Close your eye for 10 seconds and imagine to be the other person and feel what you feel.
Oh, I want to know what the new Fola Raselli feel.
Okay? Once you are ready, you can open your eyes, change again your position and come back to your original position. So now, Fola, you are not anymore a woman, and Raisley, you are not anymore a man. And try to answer to the question, Raisley, come ti sei sentita a essere Fola? How do you feel to be Fola?
Um, a moment, please. Así, eh, alegre, ahora yo le siento a él alegre, tranquilo, eh, cariñoso, así, cariñoso, eh, 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 simpático, crazy.
Molto bene. Fola, how do you feel being Raisley for these 10 seconds?
I felt calm because there's this energy around her that even when upset, it's not evident, unlike the faller, So I felt a sense of calm while I was
Ah,
while I put myself in her shoes for those 10 seconds. That was how I felt.
bello. Fola, how to say calm in your language?
Arami Bale.
Arabi Bale.
Yes.
Muchas
You got it
gracias.
right, Marco. Yeah. Arami
Vale.
Bale. Yeah.
Arabi Bale.
Ay,
So now we have the card number 6, number 7, sorry. The card number 7 is again to guess the emotion. So, Russell, prima Fola era arrabbiato. At the beginning, Fola feel anger. What is the emotion that now Fola is feeling? Quale emozione sta provando ora Fola, secondo te?
happy, happy, happy.
Happy. Fola, are you happy? Or it is another emotion that you
Así,
are feeling now?
happy, happy, Habibi.
Now I'm happy. So she got it right.
Happy. That in your language is
Inumidun.
ilumitu.
Yes,
Well,
Inumidun.
il,
Inumidun.
ilumitu.
Ilumizu,
Yeah.
ilumizu.
I'm happy.
Molto
Yeah.
bene. Fola, same question to you.
No te acerques.
Wesley, at the beginning, felt calm. Now, what is the dominant emotion of Raisley, in your opinion?
Happy, happy,
Happy.
joyful. Yeah, joyful. All smiles. Yeah.
Yes, Raisley is correct what Fola said because you are the only person, but I think so. Please confirm or say your dominant emotion, please.
¿Qué la hice?
Sorry?
Beautiful. Está feliz, está
Feliz.
feliz, está feliz, cariñoso, amoroso, respetuoso, respect.
Respectoso, respectful. Yes, good. Okay, thank you. You play well also the card number 7. Then the card number 8 is for the non-conflict players. So Fola and Raisley can wait some second, and I ask you all to repeat the kind words that you listen from Fola and Raisley. Quindi quali belle parole sono state dette da Raisley o da Fola. In that way, Fola, you said bla bla bla, or Raisley, tu hai detto questo. Chi vuole può parlare. Who wants to say something can say now. It's your turn.
Okay, in Nigerian, how will be love?
Lo que me hizo,
Fola, how will be Nigerian love?
Okay, it means Ife.
Come again?
Ife.
Ife. Oh, so it
Yeah.
sounds like music. So I feel Ife.
Okay.
la.
So
La.
let's stay into the game. So we say Fola said Ife. Anyone that wanted to add more? Okay. So now the card number 9. Now again, Fola and Raisley, you are the active players. So I ask you to close your eyes for 10 seconds. So Raisley, chiudi gli occhi e pensa a un tuo bisogno che è emerso adesso. So Fola, think about your need, your personal need that arise right now. Quindi, Wesley, che tu senti in questo momento. Quando sei pronta, Wesley, apri gli occhi e di a Fola, io sono una persona che ha bisogno di o interesse per. Fola, when you are ready, you can say to Wesley, I am a person that need or has an interest for.
Okay. Do I say that in English language or my language?
Yes, it's up to you.
Okay, I
Both
think I'll.
of them simultaneously, if you can.
Okay, so I just want to be heard and validated.
Okay. That in your language is?
Mo fẹ́ kó máa gbọ́ràn sí mi lẹ́nu.
Okay. I learn better the second version, it's okay. Raisley, now it's your turn. Adesso tocca a te. Io sono una persona che ha bisogno di o interesse per, prova a dirlo a Fola.
Quisiera aprender el idioma de él para poder compartir el diálogo más directo y no estar en esta expectativa.
Ok, good. Grazie, très bien. Molto bene. Thank you very much. The card number 9 we play well. So, the card number 10, and we are close to the end. Siamo alla fine. Adesso una proposta. You please make a proposal to the other person. Quindi, Wesley, chiedi a Fola se in futuro succede una cosa simile, chiedi a Fola di fare qualcosa. So, Fola,
Accept.
you need to ask to Raisley to do something if this situation will happen again in the future. Okay? So, please, Raisley, it's your turn. Make your proposal to Fola. Fola can accept or refuse the proposal.
Accept.
But first, you need to make a
Accept.
proposal. You need to make a proposal to Fola, and Fola can accept or refuse. Quindi
Accetto.
fai la proposta a Fola, chiedigli di fare qualcosa e lui dice sì o no.
Oh, is that for me or Araceli? Should I go ahead and make a proposal,
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
that
you
for
can
Araceli?
go ahead, Fola. Go.
Okay, so I would like for you to communicate with me more often, Araceli. I would like for you to communicate with me more often. I would like for you to speak to me more often. So I'm
Ok.
asking whether you want to accept that proposal or you want to refuse it.
Do you accept, Wesley? Hai accetti o rifiuti?
Accetto.
Accetto, molto bene. Adesso tocca a te, Wesley. Fai una proposta to Fola. Make a proposal to Fola.
Me puede llamar un text message de phone. Me puede mandar un mensaje por teléfono y podemos dialogar un poco más.
Okay, Fola, if you understood, answer if you accept or refuse the proposal.
No, I don't quite understand what she said. I don't understand
She said
Spanish.
that she would like to talk with you in a more better manner without avoiding to be not understood, if I correctly understood.
I accept. Accept it.
Okay. You both accept, even if anyone can refuse. That was not a problem because the aim of Medianos is not to have an agreement on the proposal, but it is the process that is important. Wesley, anche se non avesse accettato Fola, la cosa importante è tutto il processo e non che Fola accetti oppure no. Good? So,
Very good. That's very.
you can make a clap because we finished the game. You were very good on that, and we listened
I enjoyed
very
this.
nice, very good language. So,
Very good.
il gioco
Very
è
good.
finito, ma we have a ghost card, abbiamo una carta nascosta. Chiedo a Wesley e a Fola, how do you feel while playing? Come vi siete sentiti giocando? Fola, how do you feel while playing? Or Wesley?
Uh, okay. When I started off, I was a bit upset, but somewhere along the line, the emotions changed. I felt validated, and you can see from the expression of my face that it moved from intense anger to all smiles with you saying my tit. So I felt good. I felt good.
Ok, Wesley?
A Fola, me agradó muchísimo el poder compartir, el poder conocerte, el poder cruzar palabras. Y si tuvimos esta diferencia de idioma, lo vamos a cambiar, lo vamos a mejorar. Estoy muy feliz de poder compartir.
Okay, good. You play well. Now I ask to all the people, what is the purpose of Medianos? What is, in your opinion, the aim or the final purpose of Medianos? I wanted to listen from your voice, your point of view, your feedback. What is the meaning and the final target of Medianos?
I assume I just take a chance. I will say just I enjoyed by look at that how, for my perspectives, how two different cultures came each. Okay, it was just playful a bit, but imagine just in a second there is really conflict, and there are really emotions, not just playing emotions like in a cards, but in real emotions. And you are bringing your whole mentality on the table. And when you see face to face, not online, the person, you don't need to listen his words. You can see and read by the faces mentioned it follow, and you can understand that he's angry or disappointed, or even by spelling his words, I understood that he's disappointed. It's because of the practice. I think this card can be helpful when the people are working in the groups and they are not in the conflict. It's a hot conflict, but afterwards they are coming to the groups and they are working with a psychology or working with a mediator or working with someone who is doing this job. Otherwise, the cards in exact conflict can be helpful if someone is not taking blanket on the top, or he's just trying to keep the anger inside and say no, where it's not acceptable all the time. This is my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if you let me give my opinion, can I speak?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. Thank you.
Well, I think that it's a very good exercise for to understand what is empathy, because sometimes somebody doesn't understand what really means in action. When you act with many actors of different cultures, they have a different background. And maybe if you don't understand that as an initial principle, you could not solve the conflict, as you could keep the conflict inside in you, because you are not noticing what is real. You are noticing only outside communication, but you can see inside communication. But that is very important, this exercise. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from anyone? Okay, good. So the last question, and then I will finish my talk. Is from who you learn while playing. So, da chi hai imparato quello che hai imparato in questo gioco? So, Fola, from who during this short discussion you learn what the things that you learn.
Okay. You want to know what I learned?
Sorry, again?
Okay, you want to know what I learned? Do you want to know what I
Yes,
learned? Okay,
from
it's a
who you
bit,
learn.
interestingly enough, a lot from you, and I'll tell you what it is. It's the fact that with this card game and what you've been able to do, you can literally mediate intercultural, you can literally mediate to a safe extent without really understanding what is being said. Because the only reason why you were able to all hazard a guess on whether I was happy or sad was not with what you understood I said, but with my emotions and all of that. So for me, that was a bit profound, because what you literally did, Marco, was to look at the emotions of me and the emotions of Araceli, and then you notice the change. So that for me was profound. So what just came to mind really was that I don't know whether that word exists, intercultural mediation, you understand, without language barriers. So yeah, so that was basically what I learned.
Okay, thank you. And Wesley, quello che hai imparato adesso, da chi lo hai imparato? In quale situazione hai imparato? Da chi hai imparato qualche cosa oggi?
Me tuve que salir un ratito de la sesión, no escuché muy bien qué es lo que hay que hacer.
Da chi hai imparato?
Ah, Freddy, ¿me ayudas, por favor? No le entendí qué era.
Bueno, dice, ¿cuál es el propósito de jugar medianos playing? ¿Cuál es el objetivo del juego? ¿Qué aprendiste a través del juego? ¿Y de quién aprendiste mientras estabas jugando?
O sea,
Responde,
Ya,
por favor.
okay.
l'ultima pregunta. Esta l'ultima pregunta.
The last question. ¿De
Yes, of
quién
course.
aprendiste mientras estabas jugando? ¿De quién aprendiste mientras estabas jugando?
Muchas
Ya,
gracias, Freddy.
Ok.
ya, o sea, bueno, el objetivo es el romper barreras, el romper culturas, el aprender. Aprendí muchísimo, me divertí, disfruté. eh, También aprendí mucho de Fola, el tomarlo con calma y siempre con una sonrisa, el poder hablar, el poder decirme las cosas que él sentía, pero de una manera, siempre con una sonrisa, siempre estuvo feliz, happy, happy. Eso, y aprendí de Paula, es el mantener la calma, o sea, hablar en su idioma natal y en inglés y español, manejar cuatro idiomas a la vez como lo estamos manejando, entonces me pareció muy, muy bueno y muy divertido.
Ha entendido, muchas gracias. There is a final surprise that the answer to the last question. So, a la última pregunta, la respuesta es que nosotros en medianos aprendemos para nos mismos. We learn from ourselves at the end. So we don't learn from any other than ourselves. So we are at the end. I would like to thank you, everybody. Grazie tante, grazie mille, muchas gracias for a todos per to the people that translate to help me, Fola that teach us the Nigerian, one of the 100 Nigerian language that you speak, and to everybody. So thank you again and have a good life.
Thank you, Marco. So we are coming to the, I think, most interesting time for me, especially because I want to hear your feedback afterwards and some of the questions. So I will go one by one. So I will just start from the follow. You started the panel and you will answer on the question. Follow. Can mediators, this is a student, I don't know what they send it to me now, then can mediators in Nigeria work effectively in just, or not only in Nigeria, in environments where trust in institutions is completely broken?
So, interestingly enough, even though it's not one of the cardinal features that has been listed as trust, but in reality, can you do anything worthwhile without trust? Before we even decide to bring it down to the issue of being a mediator or whatnot, can anything worthwhile really happen without trust? Because the mediator is supposed to be a neutral. So without trust, you would always have to second guess what is being said. Without trust, you would second guess the process. Without trust, you will question the neutrality of the mediator. Without trust, you will there will be no harmony in anything that is being said. So trust is really very, very important. And I think the only reason why it's not even stated is because it's expected to be a given that there should be a level of trust before you do anything at all. So I really don't think it has much to do with mediation per se, but much to do with pretty much anything you want to do with anybody. There has to be a level of trust before you go ahead. I hope that answers that question.
And my question, I think, you are more than you are a professional in this, in the polyculture and in the culture and emotional intelligence. So how do you think nowadays, if you are aware from the emotional intelligence and you are not, you don't know about that nothing, as a mediator, how you can handle the between how can handle the public transparency, especially in your field, the complex today, what you share it, the complex peace processes. This is
Handling public transparency and confidentiality. That's a good question, Kristen.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to assume that in a proper mediation session, whoever it is that is in the party that is representing has the authority of whoever it is. So in a way, in handling that, I think that will most likely be in caucusing when I'm having a private conversation with the party. I would probably then ask. So it basically has to do more with effective questioning techniques, and then reassurance, for want of a better way to put it, to ask the other party whether he or she is comfortable with the process, and just generally find out whether there are any misgivings or issues that he wants to be addressed. Of course, but really and truly, let's even take away the issue of emotional intelligence, which basically sharpens your skills. Those are basically questions that I think I would ask. But of course, it will be within the realms of the mediation session. Other than that, I don't think I know of any other better way. I don't know whether that answers your question, Kristen.
It's hard to, I understand, and I do believe the more mediators who doesn't understand that how crucial is to learn about emotional intelligence nowadays, we can handle any peace conflict, I think.
Yes, because and yes, because it's a good thing you mentioned it, because I think emotional intelligence is a key tool of every mediator. Because it's a key tool, because a lot is being said and a lot is not being said. If with emotional intelligence, you're able to understand the distinction between verbal and non-verbal. You're able to understand that everything matters, the way he speaks, the tone of the voice. So it basically helps, you are not blindsided in any way whatsoever. Even the smile on the face, that uncomfortable smile means something, because you ask yourself one question: why is it that on the face of it, it looks as if there was a perfect mediation, and when it then gets to the part where the parties want to sign, then one of them becomes jittery. So it's really, really very, very important in the scheme of things, from the tone of your voice, even the way you sit, matters. The smile on your face matters, So I think it's an underrated conversation that we need to have. Emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence. You see those two, extremely important in the scheme of things. And at the risk of walking on eggshells and not trying to offend anybody's sensibilities, if you have parties that have pronouns and they want to be addressed as those pronouns, you should address them as those pronouns. So those are the type of conversations that I think mediators need to start having. When people address them by their pronouns. Don't allow your bias come into the scheme of things. And it's really, really very important, because you see, once you lose parties on that level, it's very, very difficult to go forward with them. And that also brings us back to the issue of the trust that you mentioned, because once that distrust is there, it even affects your role of neutrality as a mediator. Yes.
Yes, and I think this is another huge webinar to speak about. This is a long topic about emotional,
Yes.
cognitive intelligence, cultural intelligence. So this is a huge work to do it. So thank you very much. I will learn some words in Nigerian, and next time when we will meet, don't worry, I will speak in Nigerian. So I was Muslim, but I went to another speaker, and I want to thank Marco. Gracias, as I know in Italian, gracias as well, like in Spanish.
Grazie. In Italian, grazie.
Grazie. Grazie.
Grazie a te. Grazie a voi.
Grazie.
I learned a lot of things today,
Grazie,
and
Marco.
we have a nice time spent together. Hope that it will.
Of course. So Italian, I just promised the Laura to learn Italian for sure.
Sì.
Yes, she says to me, next time when we will meet, you have to speak in Italian. I don't know which one to learn because now is Arabic and another Spanish, so it will be Italian to learn 10 language, but I will just mix all of them at the end, I understood. So
Yes.
I will just ask you one question. It's important. You all the time ask how Medianos help you. How Medianos really helped you as a project manager?
Ooh, a lot because as you experience in an indirect way, it is a process that do not need any background, and this is one of the point very important that people can start and end the process without thinking about their background, what they know about the non-conflict or not violence language. They do not need to have any knowledge about the emotional intelligence or anything. It is a very quick method in order that the people can be more themselves without thinking too much about the feelings and the reason of the feelings, but they have very little time to answer to the question and to think about what it is important for them. And it is a very nice exercise to be more direct. And this is the final purpose of Medianos, that it is to increase the self-awareness to for all the people, in order that when they are in a very real conflict, they do not use the Medianos step, but they are more aware about how to listen, how to feel, try to understand the emotion, and they learn from the conflict and they say, oh, let's do not argue too much because we have something better to do, that it is learning from the conflict.
Yes, correct. And I will say as a psychologist something to you. What I see, what you learn from Medea knows that you fall in love with this game. You have different feelings with this game. So it's now I will give the floor to staff. He will ask you a question, and we need to run to other panelists, and we are running out of the time. Sorry, staff, please.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Very good evening, sir. Mr. Marco, I have to put a question to you. I was going through your slides and I read about your proposal of resolutive proposal. From the perspective which I understood, resolutive proposals are a proposal that automatically ends when certain condition happens. Uh, think of it like a contract which with a built escape clause or expiration date or something. So my question to you is what happens if the situation changes so much that our original solution doesn't work anymore? Of course, there are many ways to resolve such conflicts, but I want to know based on your theory, how would you respond to this, sir?
Marco, you are muted.
Yeah, I'm muted.
It was question to you.
Sorry, I was distracted for a second. Could you please reformulate the question in a quick way?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, of
Sorry,
course.
sorry again. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
really.
It's okay.
No issue at all, sir. I will rephrase the review for again. I was going through your slides, sir, and I was reading about your resolutive proposal in the game, the exercise you were doing.
Yes.
As per my understanding, resolutive proposal, it's a proposal that automatically ends when certain condition happens. So my question to you would be, sir, what happens if the situation changes so much that our original solution doesn't work anymore? Of course, there are many ways to
Yeah,
resolve such conflicts,
understood.
but I want to know based on your theory, how would you respond to this?
Yeah, the final proposals are the aim of this proposal are very important because the aim is to ask to another person to do something. So we are in a mindset that we need to change ourselves to solve problems and to do something. Nothing, do not ask to other people because what is the fear to ask to other people is to receive a no answer. So the aim of the final proposal is to put courage and ask the other person to do something different if next time a similar situation happen. It is not a matter of accept the proposal. So the game is not successful if both accept, but it is successful if the two contenders make a proposal asking to do something the other person. So I ask you to do something, then you can accept or deny. It doesn't matter at the end of the game, but it is important that after this step, you have a self-awareness that you can ask to do to the other contender or the people you argue or you have a discussion, ask them something to do if next time you will be in this situation. And this is a very important change of mindset.
And I
Can
think,
there, so can
sorry.
there be an alternative way to this? Just suppose if the daughter runs the business for 2 years, then the ownership is transferred to her. That is the original proposal. The resolutive element in this that transfer happens automatically unless the business loses money. Now there is a change of circumstances, which I was trying to ask. Suppose that the global recession hits. It is not the daughter's fault, but the business loses its money. Should the automatic transfer be blocked?
Yeah, you can use the good point is that you can use in all environment, in a commercial discussion or in a personal relationship, also in the school, also in every situation in which there is not a direct understanding between the people, that it is more or less a lot of time during our relationship.
Thank you so much. That clears a
Thank
lot.
you to thank you to for your question. And sorry not to have understood
Oh,
in
no
in
problem,
a
sir.
full way at the beginning.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
no
Thank you
problem.
very much for the question. And thank you very much for the answer. And the last question, because we do have in Spanish one question, I will ask in English. And Araceli, please ask Pablo Arteta this question. And we are doing the picture and moving another panel. So in Latin America, Pablo, are you here? Okay, Pablo, how do you think in Latin America, what role do regional organization, as you have the regional Colombian organization, play in this complex conflict mediation? In Colombia, this example.
Pablo, la pregunta es, en América Latina, ¿qué papel desempeñan las organizaciones regionales en la mediación de conflictos complejos? Esto netamente en Colombia.
Gracias, muy amable Araceli y Cristina por la pregunta. Muy buena, muy profunda. Realmente yo no sé, Araceli me puede apoyar, de que haya unas instituciones especializadas en mediación que estén actuando conjuntamente para resolver conflictos complejos. Sé que Colombia ha tenido mucha colaboración internacional a través de organizaciones que persiguen la paz para avanzar en el conflicto complejo. Hemos tenido mucha ayuda internacional y participación de muchos actores importantes en mediación, pero no encuentro, tú lo dirás mejor, Araceli, si hay unas instituciones que estén realmente actuando de conjunto para buscar soluciones en Latinoamérica a los problemas complejos, a los conflictos complejos. Gracias.
Gracias, Pablo. And it's always pleasure to hear you. Araceli already translated in English. She's the best. Our ambassador here is a translator direct. Bravo, Araceli. And gracias. And now I want to ask you switch on your cameras. We are doing the nice the picture. We have a tradition, so each of the panels we are doing nice pictures. So we will publish the heroes of our conference. You are really heroes because now here is I don't know what time is it there, but here is 8 o'clock evening in Cyprus. So I'm please smile. Now we will play another nice game. So where you will share your origin reflection or your origin emotions. We're smiling. Okay, we have it. Thank you very much. Again, want to stay, please, you can stay and just listen our other panelists. And we're smoothly moving to the other panel, Law, Justice, and Peace. And I'm happy to introduce, and Araceli will introduce Silvia Vecchi, Araceli Perez, and Freddy Ortiz Nishihara. We have 3 panelists here, and I will start to represent from Araceli. So the short, because she had a lot of credentials, so I will just make my representation as shortly as I can. So she's a honorary doctor in human rights, a mediator, negotiator, conciliator, from Ecuador. She's a representative AOE Ecuador, IDR, ODR, International, CEO and founder, Aducción, legal assistance, ambassador of Latin America of IAMPE, CEO and founder, Sol del Esperanza Foundation, director of Free Clinic for Child Sexual Abuse, Ambato, Ecuador, member of Mexico, Ecuador, lecturer, Medellin, Colombia Network, honorary member, Mediation Outreach with Women. I do believe I share it all, and I will ask Araceli to share her presentation and start our panel session.
Hasta que llegamos, hasta que llegó nuestra hora. Muchas gracias, Christine. La invitación, siempre compartir estos espacios son de mucho aprendizaje. Con esto vamos demostrando que somos más unidos y que siempre la mediación es el puente para seguir construyendo, rompiendo barreras, más que todo rompiendo barreras y uniendo directamente a todos los países. Ya lo dijiste, soy de Ecuador y para mí es un honor poder compartir. Entonces voy a compartir pantalla, lo cual mi presentación vamos a hablar acerca de la mediación como la mediación escolar como herramienta para la convivencia y la reducción de conflictos. ¿Sí? Entonces, además de hablar directamente del derecho y justicia y paz, que nos lleva a pensar no solamente en los tribunales y en las leyes también, sino también en los espacios de convivencia de día a día. Este es el tema que vamos a tratar. Entonces, podemos decir que no solamente en la escuela es donde nosotros tenemos el conflicto, sino simplemente también en los lugares, tanto en el trabajo como en el hogar, en los vecinos, en las comunidades, en todo en sí tenemos nosotros los conflictos. Y más importante, hoy quiero demostrarles que como mediación escolar se convierte directamente en una herramienta para así lograr, para poder trabajar. Podemos decir que la mediación escolar es un proceso en el que los estudiantes y docentes y miembros directamente de la comunidad, tanto educativa como familiar, dialogan con la ayuda de un mediador que es imparcial para resolver los conflictos. Se basa en principios de la voluntariedad y la confidencialidad y la corresponsabilidad, que va más allá de ser un mecanismo, es un derecho directamente que tenemos todos. Es el aprender y el enseñar cómo es formar un ambiente seguro y pacífico. Dentro de este tema tenemos los beneficios directamente de la mediación, en donde sí estamos enfocados en fomentar el diálogo y la escucha activa. En base a la escucha activa, nosotros podemos dar al lugar a imponer soluciones. También podemos invitar a cada uno a ser parte desde la experiencia o de la expectativa que tiene. Se promueve directamente la escucha activa, no solamente en oír palabras, sino también en tratar de comprender las emociones de cada uno. También hemos visto que la mediación escolar puede reducir la violencia. Esto es un tema muy general que está en varios países que hablamos acerca del bullying. Al crear directamente el tema del bullying, hablar del bullying,
pero el rato que me hicieron pasar mal.
al rato de crear un espacio de diálogo, se disminuyen directamente las agresiones físicas y verbales, y tan más allá las psicológicas, porque ofrece directamente un cambio o una alternativa de la confrontación. Reduce también el tema al brindar los espacios seguros para hablar. Entre los estudiantes no necesitan recurrir directamente a insultos o una agresión. A esto lo vamos a implementar el plan medianos, que es el interponer bajo cartas, el expresar sus emociones y así seguir generando directamente la confianza. El bullying que disminuye directamente el por qué la víctima tendría un lugar para expresar su dolor y también el agresor para reflexionar sobre el impacto de sus actos. También podemos ver que dentro de este tema de la mediación mejora muchísimo el punto clave que nosotros estamos manejando. También mejora la mediación sobre los conflictos de los estudiantes, también mejora la comunicación entre los docentes y fortalece la comunicación entre la familia y también sobre la comunidad escolar. Aparte de eso, podemos decir que dentro de una cultura de paz viene la responsabilidad y la empatía. Dentro de la responsabilidad y la empatía, podemos mencionar que los estudiantes dejan de ver el conflicto como el culpar a otras personas y así el otro reconocen como uno tiene la culpa del problema y comparten directamente una situación compartida que puede resolverse en conjunto. Es decir, el conflicto, el diálogo y la solución compartida sería el tema de solución. Desarrolla directamente el tema de la empatía, cómo ponerse al lugar al otro. Lo que vimos también hace un momento con Marco sobre el cómo me sentiría yo si me pongo en el lugar de la otra persona. ¿Esto qué es lo que me enseña? A mí a comprender cómo se siente o cómo se sentiría de estando de atrás de la otra persona. Sentir el malestar de la otra persona si es que así me lo estuviera haciendo a mí. También promueve directamente la corresponsabilidad de las partes. Esto que dice que el otro no quiere resolver el conflicto, sino porque reduce directamente la situación. Así como tenemos beneficios, también hemos visto cuáles son los obstáculos para poder tener una justicia directa o podemos decir dentro de la mediación escolar, cómo entablamos directamente una justicia. Tenemos la falla o la falta de formación de mediadores escolares. Muchos países no tienen mediadores escolares, no hay una formación correcta y muchos docentes y los directivos y estudiantes no han recibido una capacitación específica en técnicas de mediación. El otro punto también puede ser que esto promueve directamente que la mediación sea vista como algo teórico, no como práctico, y piensan que es difícil de aplicar poner en práctica directamente lo de acá. Sin formación adecuada, podemos decir que la resolución de conflictos termina siendo solamente tratados como sanciones tradicionales en lugar de diálogo. También tenemos el punto donde estamos aquí en la cultura, la resistencia al cambio y la resistencia cultural en métodos disciplinarios. ¿Esto qué es? En muchas escuelas todavía se predomina la visión positiva, el castigar, el por qué romper las reglas. También combinan hacia un método restaurativo, que sería el dialogar, el preparar, el reparar y el conciliar. Esto genera directamente la resistencia dentro porque dentro de los papeles lo ven como debilidad. Es decir, el agresor con la víctima ven el punto neutral que vendría a ser el que yo estoy sintiendo debilidad y él no es así. A veces prefieren una sanción inmediata antes que un diálogo, es una sanción, castíguenme y todo lo demás. Dentro de eso también tenemos el tema de los recursos, la falta de recursos en algunas escuelas y la falta de infraestructura. Para aplicar la mediación dentro de una manera efectiva, se necesitan que los recursos básicos. Esto es un espacio adecuado, el tiempo de una jornada educativa dentro de un horario que podría ser formado directamente en instituciones y en algunos casos es ser un tema de capacitación personal. Muchas de las escuelas conocen las aulas y los ambientes más tranquilos para realizar el tema de mediaciones. La sobrecarga directamente laboral de los docentes también limita muchísimo el poderse capacitar y el poder ser un tiempo disponible para iniciar esta clase de procesos. ¿Sí? Aparte de eso, podríamos decir que el, el mayor reto que tenemos dentro de la mediación, tanto escolar, comunitaria y laboral, no sustituye directamente a la autoridad, sino que fortalece con herramientas humanas y efectivas. También hemos tomado dentro de un ámbito, digamos, tomado 4 países que nos están inspirando directamente a poder manejar dentro de América Latina. Argentina, dentro de las leyes de Argentina, ya se ve la mediación como obligatoria antes de irnos a un proceso judicial. En México, todos los estudios de justicia alternativa y versus la aplicada en entornos educativos también ya está siendo una ley. En Colombia existe un plan de convivencia escolar y lineamientos oficiales supervisados directamente por una superintendencia. Dentro de Chile tenemos que la mediación estaría siendo supervisados directamente por unas entidades privadas que están trabajando dentro de este tema. En este tema podemos decir que aunque los matices y distintos en la región latinoamericana, todavía se desconoce el tema de mediación como alternativa de solución de conflictos y todavía no saben el valor de la mediación versus directamente a imponer una sanción o irnos directamente a un proceso judicial, ya que este desgaste, hay un desgaste emocional, económico y todo lo demás, y se rompe directamente el tema de relaciones. Y para concluir, podemos decir que como una conclusión, cuando hablamos de derecho y justicia y paz, la escuela se convierte en un laboratorio donde aprendemos a resolver los conflictos sin violencia. Como respeto y diálogo, la mediación escolar nos reduce o nos recuerda que la paz no es una meta, sino es una meta que no está muy lejana, pero sí una práctica cotidiana que construye directamente a cada relación humana. Y les quiero dejar una frase que justamente la vi ayer como una frase final que podría decir, educar en la paz es hacer justicia todos los días. La mediación escolar es la llave que abre la puerta para una convivencia más humana y sobre todo más justa y sin ser de que pierda la esperanza. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you
De
very
pronto, ¿alguna pregunta? And question, please. Next.
A question later. Later. So now I want to invite our speaker, and we're moving from Ecuador. We are in Latin America, but we're moving from Ecuador to Argentina. Yes, to dance Argentinian tango with Silvia Vecchi. So I want to represent Silvia Vecchi, professor, doctor, expert in conflict resolution and social ecology in Education Society, University of Barcelona, Deputy Secretary for Institution Policy and Access to Justice, Argentina, Director, Methods in Conflict Resolution, Superior Court of the Tierra del Fuego, OAS Fellow, Alternative Resolution of Disputes, READ, UN Senior Advisor and International Consultant, and the Professor of Negotiation and Conflict Resolution, UBA and International Institutions. I do believe I just shared most of your credentials. So, Araceli, please, you can introduce in Spanish. You are muted.
Ya, aquí, sí. Sí, ok. La doctora Silvia Vecchi es doctora de la Universidad de Barcelona, España, también prosecretaria de Política Institucional y Acceso a la Justicia, directora del DIAF, Dirección Interdisciplinaria de atención temprana en acceso a justicia y de la Dirección de Métodos Alternativos de Resolución de Conflictos del Superior Tribunal del Poder Judicial Tierra de Fuego, Antártida en las Islas Atlántico Sur. Coordinadora y asistente técnica en análisis de las prácticas de equipos disciplinarios en el Poder Judicial Tierra de Fuego, Antártida e Islas del Antártico Sur. Consultor internacional para el diseño de servicios y programas de justicia, ONG sociales, consultora para las Naciones Unidas, becaria de la OEA, para el grupo académico RAD, Resolución Alternativa de Disputas Latinoamericano, integrante de la Red Federal de Género NIN. Se desempeña como docente de posgrado de la UBA, Derecho, Psicología y Ciencias Económicas como profesor de posgrado y formadora de formadores, entrenador de la carrera de especialización en negociación y resolución de conflictos en distintas universidades de Latinoamérica. También es socio colaborativo de IAMPE dentro del departamento de, perdón, dentro del comité científico, perdón. Silvita, tienes el uso de la palabra desde este momento.
Ya, es un gusto pertenecer a IAMPE. estar aquí compartiendo con todas y todos ustedes. Muchísimas gracias. Qué gusto me hubiera dado seguir jugando con Fora y con Marco. Yo también creo que esto de encontrarnos, intercambiar, es el gran mérito, Cristín. Te agradezco y me parece que estos eventos de red y de intercambio son o es lo que necesitamos. Voy a estar hablando, así como me presentaron por Argentina, eh, y desde un lugar que, como ha dicho Cristín y Arita, estoy en el lugar más austral del continente americano. Es un gusto representar a Latinoamérica, pero estoy aquí, el lugar donde muchos deben ubicar a la Antártida, las Islas Malvinas, y es entonces la isla de Tierra del Fuego. Desde aquí, desde el sur más austral, del continente. Así que con mucho gusto estoy compartiendo con ustedes y habiendo escuchado además a otros compañeros de Latinoamérica, por Uruguay, por Colombia, recién Araceli desde Ecuador. Estamos representando en IAMPE a Latinoamérica y quiero decirles que particularmente Argentina, muy pionera hace 40 años en esta región, sostiene la política pública en acceso a justicia. Y así nos interesa presentarlo como una diferencia entre acceso a justicia, con todo lo que implica, diferenciando de solamente acceso a la justicia jurisdiccional tradicional. Aquí vemos el potencial en el acceso a justicia con muchísimos servicios. Es para nosotros, para el desarrollo en Argentina y en América, una política pública de Estado. Así que, tal como Araceli anticipaba, para nosotros hay una cantidad de inclusión en nuestras normativas del enfoque positivo del conflicto. Es para nosotros en cada una de las normativas y de las políticas públicas un camino de procesos con posibilidades, con crecimientos diferentes, y estamos en distintos ámbitos, entendiendo también la conflictividad mundial actual, y por eso favorecemos con IAMPE todo lo que haga a la diplomacia y la gestión de conflictos en redes colaborativas. Para nosotros el pasaje de la transición al diálogo y a un diseño generativo por la paz mundial es el norte. Allí nos lleva nuestro faro. Entonces, quería compartir con ustedes que la Argentina, y para Latinoamérica tengo el gusto de trabajar con muchísimos de nuestros colegas y compañeros y países cercanos, pero con a lo mejor distintos desarrollos. Promovemos permanentemente reformas normativas. De hecho, en este año en particular estamos modificando todas las normativas que han sido además producto de investigaciones dentro de las políticas públicas en nuestro país. Así que hay muchos cambios y generalmente entre los 3 y los 5 años hay un nuevo rediseño. Todos estos diseños en las normativas, y lo trabajamos con Naciones Unidas intensamente, desde 1990 al 2012, y ahora estamos en la franja de el 2020 al 2035, miramos eficacia, opciones de acceso a justicia, como decimos, y miramos particularmente impacto. ¿En qué? En lo que entendemos como acceso a justicia, incentivando la solución atendible y rápida de los conflictos que no requieran, a pesar de que lo sostenemos desde la justicia, sin embargo, no buscamos la judicialización, buscamos los espacios de atención temprana, primaria, llegar antes a la conflictividad social y por eso tenemos una cantidad de diseños y servicios orientados a quien tienen un conflicto en cualquiera de de los espacios y particularmente en las comunidades vulneradas y o vulnerables. Descentralizar los conflictos es una de nuestras metas y organizar redes de derivación y atención en establecimientos con atención interdisciplinaria es lo que hacemos. Eso es lo que denominamos, y Cristín nombraba al comienzo, es particularmente en mi camino desde los 80, en la visión, digamos, pluralistas que tenemos en el entendimiento de una ecología social. Así que para nosotros los ámbitos educativos, comunitarios, organizacionales, todos son bienvenidos y van a estar incluidos, aún desde cómo entendemos a y a la justicia. Así que con paradigmas muy emergentes, para nosotros la comunicación co-crea sentido, co-construimos juntos el sentido y siempre estamos trabajando en perspectivas situadas en el afecto, en la cultura, en el territorio, con todas las variables. Así que para nosotros las metas de fortalecer la capacidad para tomar decisiones va a ser algo que vamos a sostener permanentemente, así como establecer esos procesos facilitativos que escuché de los distintos expositores anteriores, tantas posibilidades que tenemos de poder hacerlo, todas para recuperar el poder, la libertad y el reconocimiento de cada uno de los involucrados en un conflicto. Para nosotros, una política pública debe preguntarse qué busca transformar con sus prácticas. Y así como Colombia contaba y como Uruguay contaba y como Ecuador, Argentina también da cuenta en sus proyectos de qué busca transformar, a qué le llama cambio, de qué se trata, de qué naturaleza es la transformación que busca. ¿Cuál es, por supuesto, en todo eso, la implicancia que tiene el operador, quien va a estar en ese marco, en ese ejercicio? Entonces, estas políticas públicas van a tener diseños que van a dar cuenta de, alguien decía mapeo, para nosotros los mapeos están en las definiciones de los problemas, en la posibilidad de diseñar, de tomar e implementar a medida cada uno de esos diseños. Por eso podemos decir que la justicia ha tenido en esta serie, digamos, de experiencias, aprendizajes muy importantes para estar instalando hoy modelos actuales de atención temprana, de facilitación del diálogo en prácticas restaurativas y haber dejado corrido un poco ese modelo tradicional de entender a la justicia solo como justicia retributiva. Los multipuertas son parte de estos diseños. Para nosotros son servicios de distintas puertas de atención temprana en la gestión de toda la conflictividad. Quiere decir que en una casa de estas multipuertas vamos a encontrar posibilidad de negociar, de conciliar, de mediar, de atender el conflicto según el momento y la evaluación que un equipo de evaluación neutral temprana interdisciplinaria hace una vez que alguien accede. Así como los multipuertas, sostenemos las prácticas restaurativas, trabajamos para el restablecimiento de lazos sociales. Y pensaba, a propósito de alguna pregunta que antes hacía, creo, Cristín, en algún panel, que particularmente en este momento estoy colaborando con Colombia para un cambio que intenta el Ministerio de Defensa en instalar justicia restaurativa. En este momento, algunos poderes judiciales de algunos países, en el caso de Ecuador estamos trabajando con ciudades de paz, pero estamos necesitando reconocer cómo instalar trabajos de red intrainstitucional e interinstitucional para colaborar con los servicios que pudieran ser adecuados y sistemas mediadores que nos lleven esa idea de conflicto positivo y de también exigir que en ese sentido cada uno sea adecuado a su territorio. Así que entendemos la mediación y la ubicamos dentro de las prácticas facilitativas y ya un poquito también para concluir con ustedes, tomamos siempre la idea que necesitamos tener, antes también lo decían, operadores y responsables institucionales formados en este sentido. Para nosotros es importante saber decir, como saber hacer, como saber, por supuesto, hacer en contexto. Así que sostenemos, y aquí me despido y dejo la invitación para con todos ustedes, la idea interinstitucional e intra, no solo judicial, sino institucional, de elaboración de redes, análisis de prácticas y continuo training. Voy a pasar un par de láminas solo para despedirme ahorita por el horario que es, para decirles que sostenemos en el monitoreo permanente de los programas reconocer la evolución, la evaluación, la sustentabilidad permanente de los programas, reconocer los cambios en la interinstitucionalidad. Y para eso, la verdad que nuestro desafío y el que les invitamos como un compromiso como el que compartimos con IAMPE es mantener abierta siempre, permanentemente, la reflexión en los interrogantes sobre la responsabilidad que tenemos de formar operadores y de establecer diseños para esta acción en el campo de la paz. Espero que el faro, que es el faro del fin del mundo, el último farito que tenemos, nos ilumine en ese camino. Gracias, IAMPE, gracias amigos y amigas y colaboradores en este campo. Seguiremos encontrándonos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Gracias, dear Silvia. We are far, but I do believe that it's everything without borders when you truly want to support each other and see each other. So I do believe to see you next year. And to move to the Freddie. Freddie, you are here.
I'm here. Wait a moment, please.
Okay. I will start to introduce you, and you can just open your camera and you can share your expertise. So the question, Sylvia, Araceli, and Freddie, I will ask at the end, okay? So Freddie Ortiz Nishihara is a lawyer from UNMSM, lead trainer in conciliation since 2000 to the present in Peru, advisor to the mediation program of the municipality of Riobamba and the National Directorate of the Indigenous Peoples Ecuador, speaker and the presenter in Argentina, Buenos Aires, Salta, postgraduate in mediation and conciliation from the University of Business and Social Science in Buenos Aires, Latin America, school at the University of Buenos Aires, doctor, professor from university, conflict resolution from the University of Uppsala, Sweden, master degree in international relations from the Andean University, Simón Bolívar, and really he's correspondent for the radio Voices and Words Opening Borders for Peace. I want to truly present dear Professor Freddie, share your expertise and make a huge conclusion So the final day number 2 of the conference, Peace, Architecture, Peace in a New Global Era. Thank you. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate to all the speakers which presented here all their points of view. I suppose that all of them were very interesting for our formation as mediators or conciliators. And really, well, we are continuing with this path of improving the ways of resolution, the best ways of resolution, which are mediation, conciliation, and other kind of ways of conflict resolution without the interference of the justice, the tribunals, and otras similares. Quiero decir en español que realmente deseo felicitar a todos los que han participado. Sus conferencias, sus temas han sido interesantes. Creo que debemos continuar en ese camino de construcción de la paz y sobre todo de mejora, porque el intercambio de experiencias nos fortalece, nos hace sentir mejor y eso es muy importante, ¿no? I want to say too that I'm going to take another step. I'm going to speak another step, another matter that I was programmed before, because diplomacy is a very important, very interesting matter. It's very interesting. But now I'm going to speak briefly, if you permit me, on relation to a case of conflict, very, very sorry, which is happening now in these moments in Africa, between Asia and Africa, in Palestine. I want to express that it causes very sorrow to all the humanity, and it's a point of view of mine that I want to share with you. Quiero hablar sobre un punto muy importante brevemente sobre Palestina, el conflicto de Palestina, que, bueno, no está vinculado al tema de la diplomacia, el tema que fui programado, pero que, bueno, realmente es importante tratarlo porque ahora tenemos frente a nosotros una cruda y cruel realidad que debe ser explicada desde un punto de vista global, desde un punto de vista diplomático. Entonces voy a presentar y le pido mil disculpas si lo hago mal porque he estado mal de salud con bueno, diabetes, y la diabetes me ha mantenido paralizado estos últimos días. I have diabetes and I have been very sick these days. Excuse me. Moreover, I lost my account in LinkedIn. Somebody hacked my account, 20 years of work. It's very sorry to lose 20 years of work, academic work, background, which is in LinkedIn. Es doloroso perder una cuenta de LinkedIn que has trabajado 20 años, que tiene materiales, que tiene fotos, que tiene testimonios, porque un pirata entró a LinkedIn y me saboteó, me destruyó. He quedado profundamente conmocionado porque videos, textos, artículos, presentaciones se perdieron. Bueno, pero yo voy a tocar el tema, a ver, voy a compartir pantalla. Entonces les voy a pedir que me permitan compartir. I'm going to share. Yes, this is the matter. Yes, this month. But let's start here. And well, I'm going to speak today about Palestine. I ask you to excuse me if you have another point of view. Les pido que me disculpen si tienen otro punto de vista, pero trato de ser un puente entre dos mundos para mejorar nuestra calidad de vida y sobre todo ser mejores seres humanos. Los marca y la mediación orientados a la construcción del diálogo, los consensos y la convivencia en tiempos complejos, ¿no? Alternative means of conflict resolutions and mediation contributions of the mark to the construction of dialogue, consensus and coexistence in complex times. Podemos ver en esta figura muy lamentable que a veces las formas de comunicación de las que muchos han hablado anteriormente muestran internamente al ser humano su expresión externa. This picture shows which you can deny with the words. When you try to solve a conflict, you must start watching the bodies, the movements, the actions of the people, not only words, as somebody said before my intervention. The words are vain. The words are useless when you do something which is contrary to the right, to the human rights, to the human rights. Las palabras son vacías cuando tú hablas bonito, dices algo bonito y tú estás haciendo cosas que no son correctas, acordes con lo que tú quieres expresar. En esta fotografía lo vemos, ¿verdad? Bueno, acá están algunos datos míos, pero vamos a ver, el tema de la disertación era, como les digo, un análisis del conflicto en Palestina. Analysis of the conflict in Palestine. We can see in these pictures, many pictures which were taken since 1948 until now. Estas imágenes fueron tomadas desde 1948 cuando comenzó lo que los árabes llaman Nakba, when it started to call it Nakba by the Palestine, the time of suffering, when they give the welcome to the new migrants coming from Europe to Palestine, and how these new migrants started a new life, but created a new image, putting to the Arabs, and particularly to the Palestinian, as people without culture, people we do not deserve to live in peace, violent people. La historia que dijeron los inmigrantes europeos era de que los palestinos eran violentos, eran gente incivilizada, que los desiertos era lo único que cubrían esas zonas y la prensa se hizo eco de ello y la historia que tenemos es que los bárbaros árabes atacaban a los migrantes civilizados y lo hacían sin ningún motivo. Pero ahora sabemos que había cultivos, que había tierras, que había casas, que había gente viviendo ahí. And we know now that there were people, there were houses, there were cities, not only deserts as the Israelis say until now. There was a culture, a living culture there in that place of the war, and the information that they transmitted was fake. La información que transmitieron es falsa porque ahora vemos la realidad cuando los canales de comunicación se han abierto de lo que realmente es Palestina. Yo escucho todos los días al padre Gabriel Romanelli, que es argentino, y que habla sobre estos hechos y nos cuenta que los árabes palestinos no son bestias, no son criminales, no son terroristas, son seres humanos como nosotros y dos monjas peruanas que trabajan también allí con él. And now every day I listen to Padre Gabriel Romanelli, his program, who speaks on relation to Palestine, to real situation of the human being living in his parish. And there are two sisters, Peruvian sisters, which work with he do in that place. And they tell us the truth about the humanity of Palestine people. They are not animals, as some officials of Israel said sometime. No son animales, como dijeron algunos funcionarios de Israel alguna vez. They are human beings, like ourselves, like you, like me. Son seres humanos como tú, como yo, y no merecen ser tratados de esta manera. Y acá hay videos, no los voy a poder pasar en esta oportunidad, pero ustedes han visto todo lo suficiente, creo, sobre la guerra. Here are links to videos, but you have so now about this war, and you know what's happening really in Palestine. Let's remember to Johann Galtung, one of the fathers of the peace, the mediation fathers. Empathy without violence, with creativity, a process that never ends. La empatía. Nosotros entendemos como pasa la capacidad de transformar a los conflictos con empatía, sin violencia, con creatividad, un proceso que nunca se acaba. Sí, o sea, la empatía no solamente es, digamos, transformar con las palabras, como dije antes, sino se trata de que entendamos a la paz como la capacidad de transformar los conflictos sin violencia, con creatividad, un proceso que nunca se acaba. We understand peace as the capacity to change the conflicts with empathy, without violence, with creativity, a process which never ends. That's really what we want to say. And Desmond Tutu, the bishop the South African bishop say something very important too when we speak of this kind of violence. The neutrality, when you face a case of violence, is not peace, it's only to collaborate with the silence, accomplish silence of the people who uses violence, and that is what they need for to continue their attacks. La neutralidad ante un caso de violencia no es paz, es justamente colaborar con el silencio cómplice que los agresores necesitan para seguir atacando. Obviamente que sí. Y bueno, la visión de negociación de Johan Galtung sobre la violencia se basaba en dos puntos: el control político israelí está en el punto de arriba. The political, Johan Galtung spoke on this conflict and made a very important and interesting analysis. He said the next, first we have up the political control of the Israeli government, and down we have the political control of Arabs. Now which is happening. This was written and said by Johan Galtung more than 20 years ago, almost 30 years ago, and it's really a real situation, it's a real situation. Johan Galtung, adelantándose a su tiempo, dijo pues que el control político israelí está en la cúspide y lo que se tiene que es tener el dominio sobre el control político árabe, del mundo árabe. Es el sionismo, la doctrina que busca que impere esta forma de diálogo, de comunicación, de interrelación entre dos partes y no me parece correcto ni justo, ¿no? Here we can see this kind of relation that the Zionism is trying to establish in the relation between not the Jews. We will speak a group of the Jews, which are the Zionist government, and Arab world. It's not horizontal. It's a way of domination on one over the others. Well, let's try to understand the violence and the mediation in a conflict. Yes, if we speak of Galtung and other people who gave us concepts on violence and conflicts, it's very special to understand that in a conflict, if you want to solve a conflict, it must be equality between the parts. The solution should be to negotiate and mediate with the heart, showing all your feelings, not only the words, until you find the best option. But if you use violence, you can see that there is not horizontality, there is no way for to solve the conflict. You can see that the danger is on the way because there are going to be victims and there is going to reborn once again a new kind of aggression. Every day is going to be boring a new kind of aggressor, a new kind of terrorist because we are not repairing. We're not repairing. We are not doing the healing of the conflict. That is which is happening in Palestine. That is happening in Palestine when we see that generation and generation passes, but the conflict never ends. It never will going to end because we must understand if we want to solve the conflicts, we must go to the roots of the conflicts. The roots of the conflicts are on the goodwill and the real will, the sincere will of the people for to try to find a way for to try to solve really the conflict. We have now that in Palestine there is use of violence, direct violence. You can see the attitudes, and the cultural violence which is used by the Zionists, not Jews, as I said before, because we must understand this as a way of to act from a group of persons. Not all the Jews is a group of Jews, and the basis is structural. We can see the nature roots are structural, And we need to understand that with bad behavior, with bad comprehension of the other, with no understanding of the other in the same level, we are not going to solve really the conflict. We are going to try to negotiate, but it's a failed negotiation, because the real negotiation is when you show to the other what is your sincere point of view about the way for to really solve the conflict, since uh, one point which makes two sides happier than before, which solves the conflicts of both sides, not the conflict of one side. This is which you must understand. But if we use violence, we are not going to have good results. This is going to be bad. And the violence, direct violence, who's just about this matter, about this kind of violence. Johan Galtung said that there are four kinds of violence. First, that you use when you use the physical force, the direct violence. Second, the cultural violence, when you don't permit the others to express themselves as they should like to express. And then we have the structural violence, where you see the roots of the conflict is in the societies and the political points of view, which are not equals for everybody. But if you see outside, it's most visible the direct violence, but you can see the cultural violence or the structural violence or the root violence, because this is down. No podemos entender quizás a veces como explicación de la violencia directa que hay una violencia cultural, que hay una violencia estructural que determina que estalle este conflicto externamente. Pero eso se forma en las mentes y en los corazones de los seres humanos. This kind of violence, which we don't see invisible violence, is born inside the hearts and minds of the person, the cultural and structural violence. Well, we must say as mediator and conciliators that Israel is acting in the same way, not only since 2023. We can see that this has happened since 1948. Tenemos que señalar que realmente pues esta violencia no nació en 2023, sino que se proyecta antes de 2023, ¿no? Entonces, hay casos en los que no se puede mediar, pero sin embargo, en el caso de Palestina e Israel, la violencia, pese a haber violencia, se trató de mediar. In the case of Palestine and Israel, some people try to mediate, Qatar and Egypt. But we know that when there is violence, maybe it's impossible to mediate. But anyway, they try to do their best mediating in this conflict. But we can see when one of the sides doesn't have the goodwill for to solve the conflicts, we can get any kind of result. No podemos conseguir ningún tipo de resultado cuando una de las partes no tiene sinceridad y no quiere negociar, ¿no? Entonces los antecedentes sabemos que vienen desde antes, ¿no? El desequilibrio de poder, ¿no? En realidad hay un liderazgo negativo, ellos tienen una autoestima alta, ¿no? Pero se basan en la coerción, en la intimidación y se apoyan en los grupos para crear comportamientos antisociales. When we see to the aggressor, we can see that inside them there is a very ugly way of action. There is no empathy. There is a negative leadership. They use intimidation and they try to act in a way that only their own interests are valuable. The other side interests are not important, don't serve. That is the point of view of the narrative that Israel has created since 1948 until now. And yes, we could see before that many times they try to mediate, the United States or other countries try to mediate since Madrid in 1991, then Madrid, in Oslo, in Paris, Sharm el-Sheikh, and Telnet. They try to make a supposed peace, but finally we can find if there is not a good will for to solve the conflict really since the root, there are not going to be good results, and the conflict is going to continue. Si no hay una real voluntad de solucionar el conflicto, si no hay una real voluntad de tratar al otro como nos gustaría que nos traten, no vamos a resolver el conflicto. Pese a que ha habido varios intentos, no se ha logrado nada. Lamentamos mucho que no se haya logrado nada, ¿no? Entonces, la información difundida que no ayuda a resolver el conflicto. La sociedad ignora que los palestinos no tienen ni ejército ni derecho a tener armas, ni tanques, ni aviones, ni siquiera helicópteros, que suponen que hay un desequilibrio entre los asesinos, sin conocer que en la última operación a gran escala en la Franja de Gaza, cuánto se ha invertido. Bueno, we must understand that if we see the conflict between the two sides, we must to see that one of them has most more power than the other, because the Palestinians don't have tanks, don't have planes, don't have arms, weapons that the others have, and they don't have an army. They don't have an army. Since 2012, many universities made studies, and many of them ignored the differences between the two sides. But most of them say the same about the role that Israel shows to the world and Palestine as the victim. United States is sorry to say, but the United States, the father or the master of, we suppose the master of the legal systems in the world, who is helping to the aggressor to Israel for to manipulate the information. It's inside. The United States manipulates informations and creates an atmosphere of disinformation. The people see only what is happening, but they don't do nothing in relation what is happening. Nos hemos convertido en seres que solamente vemos y no actuamos frente a realidades. Parece que nos hubiéramos convertido en seres de piedra que no tenemos sentimientos, y los Estados Unidos, con sus sistemas de comunicación, han influido tanto en ver a las partes que uno es un grupo que vive sin armas, bueno, que y tiene armas básicas, pero no tiene tanques, no tiene ejército, no tiene aviones, no tiene helicópteros, y está resistiendo y nos los presenta como terrorista. But who is terrorist? Terrorist is who defends his right to life. Is that a terrorist, or is terrorist who takes the land of the other, who commits crimes against humanity in relation to others, who kills children, who bombs day and night without previous advice, with previous communication to the other? Who is the terrorist? The terrorist, we must define well the word terrorist, the vowel. What does it mean, terrorist? And we must understand what is. La diferencia de lo que está pasando. ¿Quién es terrorista? Los que atacan y toman la tierra ajena, los que aterrorizan a la población civil, matan niños, o los que se defienden con lo poco que tienen para defender sus tierras. Nosotros podríamos ver en la historia de la humanidad que siempre se ha justificado la autodefensa. In the human history, we always have understood and learned that self-defense of the country is permitted as a right for all the countries without borders. And there are myths created because the publicity of the West in relation to Israel. First, they say that Israel is number one in army, it has a superiority. They say that the Israelis changed a desert in a land of Eden, a paradise, because before they came to Palestine, there were only arid lands, there was no life. And the other point that says that the people Jews, have the right, the God's right, the God given by the right given by God for to live in a land which during 2,000 years was only occupied by Palestinians, by Arabs, which during 2,000 years was Arab, were Arab lands, was Arab territory, Palestine, but the communications way of systems, the communication systems has showed us Israel as the real democracy and has showed us that the Arabs are not democrats. And any cleansing of Palestinians is only to fight against terrorism. And that is not legal. That is a lie. That is all that the system of communications are showing us now. Debemos decir que la prensa nos ha informado mal, diciéndonos que los terroristas son los palestinos, que ellos violan, que ellos matan, que los judíos, en realidad los sionistas, encontraron un territorio árido de gente salvaje, cuando no es así. Y bueno, realmente la mitología que crearon acerca de los israelíes se está deshaciendo poco a poco. Y ellos necesitaban sobrevivir porque ya Mario Vargas Llosa lo dijo antes. The Peruvian writer Mario Vargas Llosa once made a comment on this situation, and he said, Gaza is horrific. There are no rights for no one. I don't imagine how that person can live. I don't imagine. That is not live. That is a concentration field. I don't imagine why Israel is doing this to the Arab people. It's a jailhouse in the desert. This was said by Mario Vargas Llosa, a Peruvian, famous Peruvian writer. Mario Vargas Llosa lo dijo, ¿no? Que realmente no entendía cómo podían vivir encarcelados en Gaza, no podían tener acceso al océano para bañarse, los ametrallaban, no podían salir, estaban en un campo de concentración. Y era lógico, según el experimento que hacen los científicos, si metes a las ratas en una caja y les pinchas todos los días, ¿qué resultado vas a tener? Bueno, que haya violencia, ¿no? Bueno, realmente, we are so far away from the Arab Spring, as the presidents of the United States have said. We are very far away from any kind of peace, since my point of view. This is the third or fourth uh, uprising of Palestinians against Israel. The first was against the Ottoman Empire. The second was against the colonialism of that the English put there. And this is the third time which the Palestinians must to fight by their freedom. Esta es la tercera oportunidad en la que los palestinos tienen que resistir por su independencia, por su libertad. Antes lo hicieron primeramente como una revuelta contra el imperio turco, luego contra el neocolonialismo inglés occidental y ahora contra Israel, ¿no? Lo dice Johan Galtung. Bueno, ways in which we could solve this conflict. Are there ways to solve this conflict? This is a question, very difficult question. Maybe we couldn't say that there is no way to solve this conflict. It's very, very difficult. It's a very difficult conflict. But Galtung said which the first that we must to do is to put end to the military occupation of Israel from of Israel of Israel from of the territory of the Palestinian to end the military occupation from Israel in of the territories Palestinian territories. That occupation started in 1967. There are more than 40 years. After that, we can see that the roots of the conflict are not only in 1967, the roots of the conflicts are in the Balfour Statement in 1917, when a group of persons decided creation of the state of Israel for the Jews. But we know that this declaration this good declaration is not respected by the Israeli government because in the times of Galtung analysis, 50% of the land was in hands of the Zionist Israelis. But now we have that more than 70% of the territory is in hands of the Israelis, Zionists, and the rest is keeping by the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. But we can say, we must say, what do they want after this war? This war, if the Palestinian lost all his territory, I only have almost 30% of the original lands now. Maybe they want to disappear to make or to find to end to put to final this conflict with ethnic cleansing and the separation, the missing of all the Palestinians on the earth. They want to end in this way, quieren acabar con los palestinos matándolos y sacándolos de este mundo. Yo me pregunto cuál es la forma de solucionar el conflicto, pero él decía que teníamos que tratar de resolver esto con, bueno, reconociendo que el 55% del territorio ya pues tenía que ser aceptado que le corresponde a Israel. Y el saldo era para Palestina, el 45%. Pero ahora tenemos que el 70% del territorio está en manos de Israel y solo el 30% en manos de Palestina. ¿Y cómo lo quieren terminar los israelíes? Yo digo, ¿hasta dónde van a llegar? ¿No? Creo que es justo negociar, pero negociar tratando de resolver el conflicto, no matando, ¿no? Bueno, acá hay un ensayo que hice, un ejercicio. Here is an exercise for to try to speak or to solve this conflict, but it's not going to, there is not enough time for to make this exercise. We are going to pass this. Finally, we say to all the persons with a good heart, which want the peace, we really love the peace with the heart. Let's pray by the real peace. Let's pray by the real peace with justice. What is the real model of peace? As Galton said once when somebody interviewed him, he said the next when they asked it, "What do you think about the real peace? What do we have to, what do we need to have for to get there to the real peace between Israel and Palestine?" Yes, if you solve the conflict, the violence is going to end. It's going to have to diminish. It's going to finish. The violence is going to finish. Not only by physical violence, and not only physical violence. We must to look inside the person, the feelings, the hate which is inside the person, which is going to start to disappear. It must to start inside. We must try that the people cooperate between themselves, and we must show the model of Peru, Ecuador, Peru. This change came immediately. This change came immediately, and briefly I'm going to explain that I'm so sorry because our bad leaders, we kept a conflict, Ecuador and Peru, during almost 100 years. But in the 1990s, this conflict was solved, and now we can understand and see as brothers and really have solved this conflict since the deep of our heart. That is the model that Johann Galtung was suggesting when he was still alive to Palestine and Israel, to try the conflict since the deep of the heart, since inside the persons, not to create hate inside the persons. The educative system in Israel is for to learn hate, to hate the Arabs, is for to teach hate, how to hate best to the Arabs or to the Palestinians. And the first thing we must do is to try to make that the peace born, the real peace born in our hearts, for to make a real reality. That is all I want to say. I want to thank you very much by your attention. I'm going to finish sharing. And excuse me if I do. Well, okay. Stop
Thank you
sharing.
very much, Professor. Thank you very much. And
Excuse me
actually,
too
you
much.
answered my question. Last, your sentences, you just answered my question because I wanted to ask what the end, how we can come to the peace. So you already answered it. It's easy when you have a will and you want to come to the peace. This is the simple and moral of these stories about peace. Actually, they are more simple as the human beings are doing complicated lives. Life is so hard. The human beings are doing the life is complicated. And I want to move to the question to the Sylvia. And I will ask in English and I will ask Araceli to translate. Sylvia, how do you think, how do we endure marginalizing voices are heard in legal frameworks or for peace building?
Silvita, ¿cómo garantizamos que las voces marginadas sean escuchadas en los marcos legales para la construcción de la paz?
Arita, te doy alguna de las respuestas. La ubicás también en inglés en el chat. ¿Cómo querés que hagamos?
Sí,
¿Te
respóndele
parece?
la pregunta y yo le copio al chat.
Ok. En algunos de nuestros diseños y en nuestros principios de las políticas públicas, la respuesta a la accesibilidad, se usa mucho la palabra acceso a justicia, a la justicia, y accesibilidad quiere decir, seguramente Freddy también me acompaña en ese sentido, cuanto más cercano y temprano sea, será atendible aquello que necesiten. Caminar el territorio y ofrecer espacios y lugares yendo a la gente y no esperando que la gente venga, eso hace al sentido y es únicamente estableciendo redes colaborativas interinstitucionales trabajando en corresponsabilidad. Pero también me importa mucho decir en la pregunta de Cristín, que es muy importante, y también otros me hicieron algunas preguntas que me han mandado Beljan y Pablo Arteta también. Eh, yo creo que reconocer la vulnerabilidad y ver cómo se la define es un punto de partida, no es una condición individual, hay que ver cómo uno lo ve, ¿no es cierto? Es un entramado social, cultural, económico, lo hemos estado escuchando de nuestros compañeros, pero atenderla significa, Cristín, mirar las desigualdades, género, edad, pobreza, etnia, discapacidad, migración, etcétera, todo lo que condiciona la vida de las personas. Así que cultura del cuidado como protección colectiva. Gracias, Cristín.
Gracias.
Gracias por tu pregunta, for the question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I understood. Gracias, Silvia. It was really full answered question. Answer on the question. So I will move to Arita because we are running out of time. And Arita will have a really interesting question from me. Can transitional justice, because your topic is also about justice, law, and peace, can transitional justice address the needs of victims without destabilizing fragile peace agreements? How do you think?
Eh, mm, Gracias, Cristín. La pregunta, podríamos decir que sí, sí se puede desestabilizar directamente el tema de los acuerdos en los acuerdos, más que todo que son frágiles, pero todo depende del diseño y la secuencia con la que se lo está realizando. También podemos ver que la evidencia muestra que la justicia tradicional puede beneficiar a las víctimas y consolidando directamente con la paz. Cuando esto se combina, la justicia simbólica en temas de reconocimiento, verdad y reparaciones como medidas pragmáticas que pueden reducir directamente el riesgo de violencia. Por ejemplo, pueden ser en eventos participativos, en amnistías, en condicionados directamente en mecanismos mixtos. Sin embargo, los mecanismos puros y aplicados forman una parte abrupta dentro de lo que puede manifestarse. También tienen que alimentar directamente el tema de reacción entre los actores armados y poner los riesgos de los acuerdos frágiles.
Thank you very much. Gracias, Araceli. I see a translation. So I would like to ask you, switch on cameras. We will make the picture and thank you.
Sí, ok. Ahorita.
Great. So we have a picture. Gracias. Thank you very much. I want to wish you good day. For me, it's good night. It's almost 10 o'clock. So I will just say that day 2 went an amazing. All an amazing stories. We went from theory to practice and I'm excited. We did IAMPE team, and we are mostly here IAMPE team. We left only IAMPE team now here. I want to say thank you to each of you, because you are really unique, and I'm honored to have so brilliant minds in our association. Gracias.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Los
Muchas
mejores
gracias,
deseos.
Christine. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas
Muchas
gracias.
gracias, Freddy, Silvita. Nos estamos viendo el día
Saludos, muchas gracias a
de
todos. Un fuerte
tomorrow.
abrazo.
Así, tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
See you
Good night.
tomorrow, and tomorrow we have an
Tomorrow.
interesting day. And tomorrow
Así.
we will have another 2 from Latin America, from Ecuador, Cuba, and from Mexico. We will see Brenda tomorrow. And
Así.
Dainer, yes, a professor. So Araceli, you have to.
Brenda. Mhm.
Yes. And it will be interesting day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Have a
much.
nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.